mention what we did in May.
I didn't have a chance to call my.
Kirk, to answer your question, Kath had a call into her, but never got a call back, so.
It's 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ken, if we could get a roll call.
Sure. Blackburn,
Present.
Hageman,
Present.
Edge,
Here.
Howard,
Present.
Jones,
Here.
Craybill,
Here.
Michigan. It's a quorum with 6.
Okay. I'd just like to remind everybody to please silence your cell phones. And the meeting is being videotaped, so if you stand and speak at the podium, you will be part of the recording. Could I get an approval of the agenda?
So move. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Could I get approval of the regular council meeting minutes from May 20th, 2024?
I move to approve those council minutes from May of 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Next is public comment, not on the published agenda. Please come up to the podium and state your name and address for us, please.
I can get there.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name's Lois Laverty. I live on 23060 Sager Court. Tonight, I wanted to express my thoughts about the road project, the SADs, the funding, and increasing taxes through a millage increase, and also the public versus private roads. My first point is the public roads needing attention are just that, public roads in the village we all live in. Increasing the millage should be an equal increase for all residents, no SADs. Living on private roads does not exempt you from paying equally for the public roads. It is a choice to live on private roads knowing there would be extra fees for your roads, snow removal, lawn care, etc. Bingham Farms Elementary School is a public school and available to everyone. Country Day is a private school and available to those who want to pay extra for a private school. That's a choice. This road project and how to fund it, I feel, is being rushed. There have been no public hearings on this issue and no information to the public since the mailing that was sent out by the village office last fall. A ballot proposal, I think, will catch many people by surprise, resulting, more than likely, in an unfavorable result. Then we'll be back to square one. There is a greater chance to inform people about the road issue with the village newsletter in the mailbox, in addition to the online that's available. Thank you.
Thank you. Sure.
Kathy Hageman, 32671 Bingham Lane. I'm not sure whether this should be under public comments or when you're discussing the financing options, so stop me if it should be under that topic rather than public.
I was going to wait for Rose, but go ahead.
Okay. But the big question is, why are we settling on a 3-year project with the need for a loan from the State Infrastructure Bank? No one has yet explored extending the project to 5 or 7 years. Even with projected increasing costs, it probably could be done without any type of loan. Increasing the millage rate by 2 mills could maybe come close to covering the entire cost of the road project and eliminate the need for a loan. It appears no one is interested in taking out a bond due to the preparation costs. I think we can all agree on that. The village increase the millage rate without a vote of the people and get the project done. We would not violate Headley by council just taking that action. Creating an SAD is a total departure from past history, with the village tax dollar paying for infrastructure improvements for decades. Trustee comments from the road study session ranged from, we're all one part of the community, to a private road versus public road community. Costs of the SAD. Some have keyed in on just the concept of public road residents paying $500 on an SAD with general tax increase of 1 mil. It would be $500 for the SAD. The 1 mil increase is about $200. So in essence, public roads folks under this scenario would be paying $700 versus $200 for homes on private roads. That's close to probably an 80-20 contribution. Bristol Lane. We know that's a huge topic, and the decision whether to go partial or full construction. The village directed the road committee to put together options to raise the PASER ratings for village roads to a 5 or 6. The total reconstruction would bring PASER rating on Bristol Lane to 10. However, that's higher than any other road in the village would be. Bristol Lane has always encountered faster deterioration than other roads in the village due to its flat elevation, and which causes drainage issues. Past has showed this cannot be totally corrected. To do a partial Bristol Lane improvement, the residents would be paying on Bristol Lane $700 over a 7 to 10 time period. A total in reconstruction would increase that cost to almost $4,000 per year over the same time period, based on the fact that the additional cost between a partial and a full is approximately $2.4 million. The difference between the total reconstruction cost and a partial. If Bristol Lane residents pay completely for the additional upgrade, with the 67 homes. This would equate to close to $4,000 per year per resident over 10 years. This is based on Jim Burley's estimates, which are lower than HRC's. No one really has assessed what Bristolene residents want, given the cost parameters. I'm not saying these are exact or based on estimates, but just quick calculations. Finally, we have to look at what the village can afford to do. As was stated in the study session, there is a difference in the cost between HRC proposal and the Jim Burley's proposal out of the road committee. Jim looked at ways to cut the costs and looked not only into the contingency estimates, but also other ways where efficiencies could be obtained. Even HRC's numbers are preliminary estimates. HRC, at the study session, has stated that a partial road program would improve the roads on Bristol Lane. I'm not a numbers guy, even though I just spouted out a lot of numbers. These are basic scenarios that tell me more deliberation and finite numbers are needed before any decisions are made on SAD, on a millage increase, securing a bond or loan, and a possible ballot question. If necessary, the council also has the option to call for a special council meetings to further deliberate on these issues. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. So if anybody else would like to speak now, if anybody is here to speak on roads, or I was going to ask during the roads presentation or conversation if you wanted to speak then, so I guess I'll just let.
Can we speak after we see the presentation?
Sure. It's not a presentation, but discussion. Yes, absolutely. I'll call for it again. Anybody else? Okay, thank you. Moving to our police department monthly report, we have Chief Roberts and Chief Lawson here. Before we get started, I would just like to extend our sincere condolences to your brother in blue, Deputy Bradley Reckling, who, as I understand it, was ambushed over the weekend. He's from Oakland County. His expectant wife and 3 children are in our thoughts and have our sincere condolences as well.
Thank you. It's a tough time for them and their family. I spoke to the sheriff's office this morning about it, and they're all devastated, as you can imagine. But they are getting a great amount of support from their community, and that's very helpful. So appreciate your comments. That's very nice. So on that note, I hope to brighten it up a little bit here. We gave awards to a couple of officers this year, and I think, I don't know, Ken, did they get that in their packets?
Yeah.
Okay.
Not in the packets, but in their weekly memos that I send out.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Well, thank you. I just wanted to highlight one of them because it affected Bingham Farms. Usually, this time of year, we give awards to the officers who had some significant event or some significant investigation over the past year. We take nominations throughout the year for somebody, and the nominations can come from anywhere. They can come from the officers themselves, or they can come from command staff, the citizenry, anywhere really. And we go through them and we try to sort out which ones are worthy of recognition. There was a couple of different cases this year. One of them involved a Franklin incident, and the other involved a Bingham Farms incident. And the one in Bingham Farms is kind of significant if you saw it in your package, in that it was basically a person who was impersonating a police officer. The officers conducted a traffic stop right out here at Telegraph in 14 Mile of a vehicle that looked very much like a police car. It was the make and model of most police cars, you know, one of the black Dodges with police markings on it. It had a spotlight, it had blue and red lights in the back, but something just didn't look right to the officers. It also didn't have municipal license plates on it. It had regular old license plates on it, so that was kind of a red flag for them, and they were expired plates at that. So they put a traffic stop on it, and come to find out that it likely was this person who was impersonating being a police officer, had 2 loaded firearms in the car that they subsequently seized and took the gentleman into custody. He also had some fire department uniforms in his possession as well that did not belong to him. So it was a good catch. It was good to get those 2 loaded firearms off the streets. The 2 officers involved in that were Chris Tucker and Logan Hall. They did a great job with all of it. So the prosecutor's office reviewed the case, ended up charging the subject with carrying a concealed weapon. But beyond that, we probably stopped other crimes with that. Not we, the officers that did that, probably stopped other crimes as well with that. So it was great work on their part. So we recognized them with a unit citation. So for that, they'll get a certificate for their work. They also will get a ribbon for their uniforms and a gold challenge coin from the police department as well. So that was great stuff. And I just wanted to highlight that one because it was good work, and sometimes you don't hear about all the good stuff that goes on out there, so I appreciate it.
Excellent.
The other thing I'll mention is we started, and thanks to Ken swore him in last week, we started another brand new officer. His name is Pharaoh Johnson. We are lucky to have him. He has a couple years' experience with the Pleasant Ridge Police Department before coming to us, so that's always nice to get folks that already have some training and background. Makes it a lot easier for us to train them and get them up to our speed where we want them to be. So we're excited to have him. He's a young guy, 26 years old. So I hope he's going to be around for the next 20 or 25 years with us. So unless some other police department comes in and steals him from us, which we hope doesn't happen. And then the last thing I'll mention, and you have the crime report, so it really wasn't significant there. Last month when this report was written, we did the Touch a Truck event over at Bingham Farms Elementary. It was very successful, as it always is. Really well attended. We had a number of officers there with a couple of police cars and let the kids climb all over the cars and push the buttons and everything. Every year they seem to really enjoy that, so it worked out good. Other than that, I don't have anything else unless you have some questions for me or for Kurt. We're both here tonight, so.
Any questions? Oh.
I don't have a question, but I just want to reiterate thank you for coming to the presentation we had in Bingham Woods. We had a scam and fraud presentation by the FBI, and it was about 46 people came. I think it was Tuesday night.
Yeah,
And
great.
Chief Robinson came and spoke a bit at the end, so I just want to thank you for doing that.
Yeah, they did a good job highlighting all the fraud schemes that are out there. They
Right.
kind of went into the weeds a little bit too much on some of them, but it was good information that they put out there.
Thank you.
Thanks for putting that together. It's great.
Anything else? No? Please again, just
Right.
extend
I
our
will.
condolences to Oakland County.
Thank you. I will do that. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Chief Everbuck is here.
Good evening.
Fire report.
Yep, everything's burning. Just step outside. You've received... What? You received my written report from the fire department. I'll start with bad news. On Friday, June 7th, the fire department responded to a structure fire in Franklin at Cheviot Hills on Franklin and 13 Mile Road. We spent the entire evening fighting that fire. This was a house that had several different renovations completed, and we were just not able to get to the seat of the fire before it spread throughout. We were assisted by 8 other fire departments and police departments. We ended up closing 13 Mile Road so we could shuttle water back and forth. So thank you to the police department, to Southfield Police, as well as all the other fire departments that responded. At present, the Oakland County Fire Investigation Unit, which is part of the Sheriff's Office, is investigating the cause of the fire. We know the origin, and there's some history, but I'd rather not comment it on this at this point because of the ongoing investigation. In terms of fire department apparatus, we continue to perform our annual needed service. We have a new vendor, Independence Trucking, which is located in Waterford off of Dixie Highway. And they have gone through and changed the fluids and filters, as well as done some brake work on our vehicles. Moving on to the good news, we recently had 3 firefighters graduate the Fire Academy. This was the first time that we've used this academy, and it's made up primarily of the Northeast Oakland County Fire Departments. It was held in Troy, their training center, and it was a resounding success. So we are going to be participating with that academy in the future, and we look forward to continued success. Other than that, I really have nothing to pass on, but I will answer your questions if you have any.
Chief, what was the date of the fire again?
Friday, June 7th.
June 7th.
The initial call came in at approximately 10:09 p.m. We cleared at about 4:30 and then went back and I rekindled at 5:30. So we're there till about 7 a.m. Yes, sir.
Chief, have you had any luck lately in terms of attracting new volunteer firefighters to your department?
Absolutely. Interestingly enough, you bring it up, and I didn't talk to you before this right now, so Macomb County, with Macomb County Community College Fire Academy, we had a presentation there, and we absolutely are pleased to say that we've had one person show up from that, who will be going through an oral board to become a volunteer, assuming he passes the oral board in his physical next month. We are also planning on participating in a baseball game. The Leprechauns is the name of the team. They play at Memorial Park in Royal Oak. We'll be doing that on Sunday, so we're going to take several of our firefighters with an engine and using that as a recruiting platform. We've also had some preliminary discussions internally with regard to updating our website, so that way we can make it a little bit more attractive towards potential volunteers.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Thank you so much.
Thanks, Tony.
Next is the manager's report. Ken?
Yeah, I just wanted to mention something. It's in the report, but I want to just highlight it anyway. Our sister village of Beverly Hills, the evening of our study session here was hit with that storm, particularly hard. As we were talking before the meeting, once we all went outside after we were concluded, it was almost like we had no rain at all. But Beverly Hills is devastated. And if you know anybody there, you might want to reach out to them if you haven't already. I did contact the manager in Beverly Hills, let them know that they could come in here and use our power, or plug in and use phones, but they have a generator in their village hall, so things were okay. But it's just dumb luck that we didn't get hit and our neighbor did. Bill lives in Beverly Hills. He experienced it. Evgeny lives next door to Beverly Hills. He experienced it as well. I just emphasize the need for, I guess, proper planning. And that's that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions about the manager's report? No, Evgeny?
All right, I don't really have much to add. One of the things I mentioned in my report to everybody is that we responded to a survey from SEMCOG, which is the Southeast Michigan Council of Governments, asking communities if they want some free goodies to give out to their residents as part of their Safe Streets program, and we received them. So now in our office we have these nice light-up armbands and wristbands to take with you when you're walking, now that the weather's nice and hopefully not storming as bad as it was. And they've got some lights you can put on your bicycles as well. There's also a number of pamphlets, including booklets for pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, etc. So feel free to stop by, say hi, and check out the cool stuff we have out there.
Thank you. Any questions for Evgeny?
The restaurant flipping is going on like crazy. We just get a
Yes.
potential client for one restaurant and then another vacancy.
Right, yep. It's just part of what's happening all over with the restaurants, so it's moving. We've got two potential businesses moving in, one in the Mandaloon, one in the Noodles location, and yeah, they already have the permit in for the for lease sign for Devellas.
Do they have a prospect for the liquor license part of things on Mandaloon, or is that the hang-up?
That license goes with the space, I believe, so whoever moves in will have
So
it.
it's not...
The building actually has the whole building has the license, or whoever owns the building has the license. So whoever operates that restaurant, whatever it will be called, we don't know yet, will operate with that license.
Does that imply that any office in that building could have an event and use that liquor license?
I don't know liquor law that well. I would say no.
Not like,
No? Kurt, no?
no, not
Oh,
like, it's a different kind of license.
okay. Thank you.
So the village does not have a license then?
The village?
To hand
Liquor
out?
license?
Yeah,
No, we don't have a license.
okay.
No.
So I thought I understood a law that said that a village and/or a municipality could own license and then parcel them out. Am I correct on that, or?
Yes, you are. Municipalities can have what's called quota licenses, and it's based on your population. I don't know how many quota licenses, if any, you have. But yeah, yes, municipalities can receive a certain number of quota licenses, which they would own, and they can transfer them or let somebody use them for a period of time. But it's based on population.
So, Derek, are we saying that we do have the ability as a village to get possession of some liquor licenses?
Possible.
And then turn around and sell them as a revenue source for the village?
If you are entitled to one quota license and you sell it, then that would be it. So what most municipalities do is they receive their quota licenses. If they don't have any users for them, they'll put them in escrow with the Liquor Control Commission. Then when somebody wants to use it, they don't sell it, but they can enter into an agreement saying, as long as you operate a restaurant at such and such location, we will allow you to use the village's license, but if you were to go out of business, you have to give it back. So that's generally the arrangement that municipalities do.
I'm just trying to think of extra sources of revenue to pay for the roads.
No, it's good to think out of the box.
Sounds like something that like Royal Oak would do or something. When there's a lot of.
We've done it in Auburn Hills several times where we've allowed entities to use the licenses as long as they were operating. And we had a number of quota licenses because of the population. And some have gone out of business, and we've received the licenses back. So, and some are still operating, which is good.
Right.
So, yeah.
Are they rented out or leased out, or?
You can do
Is there
that.
an arrangement for
You
that?
can do that. Auburn Hills has used it primarily as an economic incentive to get restaurants to move in. They've recently constructed a downtown area. I'm not sure if you've been on Auburn Road or not. And so they've used these licenses to entice businesses to move in exchange for the use of the liquor license.
Okay.
And it's been pretty successful. So.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay, we will move to new business, starting with the elections of our village clerk and village treasurer / assessor. This is something we do every year. And the last clerk election was in June of 2023. So we will continue that with June of 2024. So I'm going to open the floor to accept nominations for the position of clerk.
I would nominate Ken Martin for the Village of Bingham Farms clerk.
Are there any other nominations? There being no further nominations, I'd ask for a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Blackburn,
Yes.
Hageman,
Aye.
Hedge,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Craybill,
Yes.
Mashigian. All right, looks like I'm elected. Thank you.
Thank you. And that term will begin at 8 p.m. on July 8th, 2024. Next, we're moving to the village treasurer slash assessor. Again, this is something that we handle every year. So I'd like to open the floor to accept nominations for the position of treasurer and assessor.
I would nominate Bill Patton for that role.
Are there any other nominations? There being no other further nominations, Ken, I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Sure. Hageman,
Aye.
Hedge,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
Craybill,
Yes.
Mashigian, Blackburn.
Yes.
All right, that passes. Congratulations, Bill.
Thank you very much. That term will begin at 8 p.m. on July 8th, 2024. We will move to the village manager's contract. Dirk, would you like to get us up to speed on this?
Sure. Based on the council's direction at this last meeting, I drafted the employment agreement both for Ken and for Bill, which is the next item. But there were very few changes to it, the biggest change being the 2-year term as opposed to the 1-year term. We will have to fill out the salary portion of it because it's currently blank. I'm trying to think of what other changes there were. There was the increased, what I'll call educational/professional allowance. It went up from $1,000 a year to $1,500 a year. I think those are primarily the major changes to it. But before it gets approved, like I said, we will have to fill in the blank for the salary.
Okay. We can make a motion to accept the contract, and then we just fill that in.
You have to approve
The contract.
with the amount in it.
Okay. So we need to wait. But let's, did you want to ask a question about that?
Comment and a question. In the second whereas clause, between village manager and clerk, I think you're missing a backslash sign. You have that up in the first whereas clause.
You are correct.
And then, I just want to be clear, since the term is elected for 1 year and the contract is for 2 years, my understanding, just making sure I'm right, is that if he wasn't elected next year, then this contract we wouldn't be in violation of the contract. Is that fair?
Yes, you would not be in violation of the contract.
Okay. So he would just then go under the severance clause or whatever it is and get
Well, I mean,
severance and all that?
You could have a different clerk, but he would still be the village manager unless, because the election, he's not being elected as village manager, he's only being elected as a clerk. So presumably, if you didn't re-elect Ken as the village clerk, I'm assuming that you would not retain him as village manager. But that's not necessarily true. That would be up to the council.
Okay, got it.
But yes, if you didn't elect him as village clerk and you wanted to terminate it, then the severance would kick in under the agreement.
Okay, fine. Thanks. So we need to pass on that until we approve the budget? Is that what you're going to do, or the?
I think we should do that and then come back
Yes,
to that.
I would agree.
That's fine.
Okay. So we will come back.
And the same thing is going to apply with respect to Bill's contract,
Right.
which is also for 2 years and also has the increased professional/educational allowance.
So we will also have, then next year, have elections again, even though it's a 2-year contract.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
I am going to still call for any questions on the village treasurer's contract, though, while we're on it. I won't call for a motion, but is there any discussion about that? Nope, seeing none, we will return to B and C. Moving to D, the Oakland County Water Resources Commission rates for 2024-2025. We have Raphael's here to explain the water rates, water supply rates, and the sewage disposal rates. You're going to do both?
Hope so.
You try? Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Raphael Chirola with Oakland County Water Resource Commissioner's Office. It's been like 2 months since we sat down with Ken and Bill and went over the proposed charges, made some modifications based on their comments, and here we are today. So, go on the sewer first, even I don't know if it matters, but since I have sewer
On our-
written up real quick here, see what we can do with that. So start with volumes first. We're using a 4-year average, just like I believe we used last year. For whatever reason, the rounding worked in the favor of the sewer side this year, so it's a 1.9% increase in volume over the existing years were based on, so that's good, right? The more sales over fixed costs, the better the rates are. And on so moving on to purchases from Evergreen Farmington System, there's a 0.2% increase. The overall increase for Evergreen Farmington was 2.3. So the reason yours is lower than the 2.3 is they use a 5-year average of sewer flows, of your flows in relationship to everybody else's in the Evergreen Farmington system. We made out like bandits this year, all right? Just be honest with you. So sometimes it works in your to a disadvantage, but this year, happily, it's in your advantage. Operating expenses are going up 0.7% as far as local operations, not much change there. Reserves, that's where we're seeing the changes on the sewer side. There's a lot more work planned in the CCTV work and capital work for the system, trying to bring up those reserve amounts to cover those costs. Trying to look at a 5-year window and see if we can get it pretty even as far as it goes over the 5 years. So that's where you see probably the largest increase in costs. Non-rate revenues are increasing. Your balances with the county, people not paying their bills on time, things like that. Mostly it's your balance. Interest rates are up right now, favorable to you, right? Overall, it's a 6.2% increase on the sewer revenue requirements, but with that increase in sales volume, it's a 4.2% increase in your charge per 1,000 cubic feet. Your current charge is $47.22. It's going up to $49.20. That's what we're proposing for your consideration. On the water side, the volumes are going up 100 units from 10,300 to 10,400. It's a 1% increase. It's probably rounding. Not every water customer is a sewer customer and vice versa, right? Somebody might still have a well or one of those things called where they're septic field, right? Depending on where you built your house, I guess. Water purchases are going up 4.1%. SACWA had a larger than GLWA average increase, and that was expected based on, I don't know if anybody's on the SACWA board here, but it's my understanding that one of the customers had a leak that they didn't know about, and they fixed it. So there was extra volume in the system. Now there's not. The opposite effect of what we're talking about within Bingham Farms itself. So that's thus the increase. Plus they said they had more operating cost increases. So that's SACWA. We do have a large increase on the operations. Water maintenance unit especially. We're doing more work over here, both in contracting services and in employee, and materials and supplies associated with it. Reserves are going down slightly, but nothing to talk about. Non-rate revenue is staying level, and so the overall increase on the water side is 7.8%. Overall, the volume charge is going to go up because of the increase in water sales, 6.8%, from $32.43 to $34.64 per 1,000 cubic feet. So what does that mean for the typical user who gets both services? Your combined rate currently is $79.65, and your proposed rate is $83.84. That's a 5.3% increase, and that's what you're voting on tonight. Any questions on what I presented? Yes.
Yeah, I'm the nerd who asked Bill to ask for questions about how much of reserves you have, and what I'm just interested in, because I'm not sure I understand what came back is like, is there any way we have enough reserves so we don't have to have quite as much of an increase?
Well, we're taking into account reducing your reserves over time with the increases. So,
So
hey,
the
if you-
answer is no, right?
well, hey, you can do what you want. Your reserves are decent, right? You're above what is the minimum, but it's not that much above it, right? It's not like you have $1 million extra sitting in either one of your funds. Yeah, it's not, a major break or a major failure somewhere could easily eat up what you have in reserves right now.
Okay, thanks.
Did you indicate there was a major cost increase on the administrative side on the water?
There's a major increase for the most part on the water maintenance fee.
Water maintenance
The
side?
people who actually go out and fix your water main breaks.
So salaries?
Well, salaries and contracted services too. So when there's a water main break, we usually call a contractor to come fix the water main break itself, unless it's a smaller one.
So I trust you do competitive bidding on contracts, right?
Yes.
Okay. But as far as wages on the workers
Oh, yeah,
themselves,
they've gone up, right?
Is
For
that
the
union?
county. But it's also increased effort. It's not just workers' wages going up. This is above and beyond. There's people doing more work and getting fined.
Is there a question?
Me.
Oh, sorry.
Raphael, could you explain a little bit more about the need for the reserve fund and why it's there in the first place?
All right.
Disaster, whatever, in water and sewer.
All right, so.
This is why you keep the money for us, right?
Well, it's your money, but
Right.
so we
Right.
hold it in trust for the Bingham Farms, right? We have, in essence, 4 subsets within what we call the net assets portion of your balance sheet, right? So assets minus liabilities, what's left over, it used to be called equity, but they keep changing the name of it. Don't know why, but they like to. Anyway, we have major maintenance, which is the kind of like stuff that is kind of like looking at, especially on the sewer side, looking at the pipes on the interior. They have these little cameras that go in, they check it out, they see something they can fix that won't extend the life of the pipe, that's considered major maintenance too, like spot repairs, things like that. So, or if they do a manhole, that's considered major maintenance. We also have on the sewer side capital reserve, same on the water side. That is like, we're gonna line a piece of pipe, a whole section from one manhole to the next. We're extending the life of that asset. That's a capital reserve. There's pipes that need to be fixed and long-term repairs need to be done. I'm sure Drew has come here in the past and given you a review of what's going on in your sewer system. The water side, major maintenance is mostly related to cross-connection work. So they go in to businesses and residents and make sure you can't get a back siphon where you're pulling in essence, contaminated water into the water system. Right, so that's the major portion of their work. And they also do any kind of fire hydrant repairs, for the most part, are considered capital that they budget for. And of course, if water main breaks would be considered regular operations. And then we also have an emergency reserve if you choose to set one up. And figure out, hopefully, it's a hard discussion. What is an emergency in Bingham Farms? What would that cost you? Right? We don't know. We have a good idea what it costs in a certain community because they had one, so now we have an example to live by, but I don't think we've had a major one since I've been here in Bingham. So those are the 3, plus what we call the unrestricted or non-operating, depending on where you look. That's just what's left over, right, to get to the total. So, but the overall is the net assets. That's what we look at when we're saying, hey, do you have enough balance or not? And we're not trying to just raise rates to get you up to a minimum balance, about 30% of your operating budget. You're over that, but not like a huge amount. It'd be a different story then. You might some communities ask for their money back, all right? And say, hey, I need $3 million. Okay, here you go. It's your money, right? It's just like having your own bank account. So if you ever get in that position, more than happy to send it back to you.
Real quickly, without going into a lot of detail, the example that you said that was an emergency, was it sewer or water?
It was sewer, it was a force main with a pump station, it was the force main itself, and it was about $800,000 repair. Because all the emergency bypass pumping and things like that. I guess it's very expensive to do if it's not planned. So you gotta keep the sewage moving for obvious reasons. Any other questions?
It's very thorough. Are there any questions?
Nope. All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for coming again.
Yeah.
Thanks, Matt.
And for your explanation. We appreciate it. Kind of one of those things that a lot of people don't think about, but is important to keep it running efficiently. So if somebody would like to offer the resolution as presented in our packet for the water supply rates.
I would move to adopt the resolution on page, sorry, I can't see what page it is in our packet. It's titled Village of Bingham Farms Amended Water Supply Rates Resolution 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Blackburn.
Aye.
Hageman.
Aye.
Hedge.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Craybill.
Aye.
Michigan. All right, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would move to adopt the resolution titled Village of Bingham Farms Amended Sewer Disposal Rates Resolution 2024.
Second?
I'll second the motion.
Go ahead.
Any discussion?
Oh, there it is, okay.
Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Jones.
Yes.
Craybill.
Yes.
Michigan. Howard.
Yes.
Hedge.
Yes.
Hageman.
Aye.
Blackburn.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Thank you.
Thank you. We will move to the amendment of the agreement for local fiscal recovery fund distribution. Ken and Dirk or Dirk?
Sure.
Could you introduce this, please?
Dirk, could you address this? This is the
Sure.
the amendment that I asked you to review.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple.
So a while ago, the village approved an agreement with Oakland County pertaining to ARPA funds that could be used for some infrastructure studies. And that was approved and the contract with the county signed. Since that time, the county has approached all the municipalities with this, what's called Amendment Number 1 to that agreement. And essentially what that amendment does is it changes Bingham Farm status from a subrecipient under the previous agreement to a grantee under the previous agreement. And the advantage of that is you have far less reporting requirements as a grantee. So this is totally favorable to the village. So you definitely want to approve it.
Okay. Is there anything to add, Ken?
I do not.
Okay. So you have a little explanation in your packet. Would anybody like to offer the resolution?
I'm trying to find it.
Is that the resolution declared adopted? Or am I too far?
The
ahead?
agreement for local fiscal recovery fund distribution between Oakland County and Village of Bingham Farms.
It's the next page.
That's one.
That's one. I will so move.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Hageman.
Aye.
Hedge.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Craybill.
Aye.
Michigan. Blackburn.
Aye.
All right, that passes. Thank you much. It makes it a lot easier as far as paperwork goes.
Thank you. This is a lot of,
Yeah.
just give us a minute to get to where we need to be. We are going to move to the roads project finance discussion.
I suggest a very short recess before we start this, because I think could be fairly lengthy.
Sure.
Okay.
We'll take a, let's see, it's 7:47. Be back by 7:55.
Don't we need a motion for that, Dirk?
Motion to.
A motion for a recess?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Enjoy your recess.
It's 6 days a week. You're in the gym, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Thank you. Okay, we are going to continue with our conversation at 7:52, starting back with the roads project discussion. Who wants to kick us off?
I have a couple questions before
Sure,
we get
yeah.
started. So I was reflecting on our previous conversation on Wednesday, and I have a couple, I think, clarifying questions. So, and don't take my questions as where I'm leaning towards anything, but if we went to and put a millage on the ballot, let's say it was 2%, just for
Yeah.
purpose. Does that count against the Headley rate?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah.
So even that, there's no difference from going out to a vote or just putting it in as a millage increase?
If you're just increasing it, and I think, where are we at, 9? I think?
9.
And I think you can go up to 12, if I'm not mistaken. So you would just be doing it to allow the voters the opportunity to vote.
But our Headley room after that too would be
Very little.
one.
Very little.
Yeah, okay.
And, potentially, yes, it'd be small.
And then I tried to look at the calculation, how the Headley's calculated, but
Good luck with that. It's very complicated.
yeah, it's not necessarily going to go up over time. That if home values continue to increase in the village, that Headley rate's not going to keep going up. Is that a fair way to think about it?
If the Headley, I'm not sure what you mean by the Headley rate. Generally, what's going to happen is every year, whatever number you're at's going to get rolled back. It's going to go backwards, not forward. Occasionally, there's two things at play here. There's the taxable value, which is this part of the whole Headley change in the law, the statute that implemented Headley, provided for the taxable value. And then there's the whole Headley computation, which roughly speaking, depending on the amount of revenues, there's a formula that goes into it, because the idea behind Headley was that you would always be working with the same amount of money, basically. So if your revenues go up too far, then your mills get rolled back. It's called a Headley rollback, and that's a very simplistic explanation. So the fact that property values go up or down could have some impact on that, but it's not going to give you any more room. If anything, it's going to give you less room.
Yeah. If the council were to want to add a millage and dedicate it specifically to roads, we could do that, but if I understand right, the next meeting, we could turn around and change that.
So let me answer that in two ways, and I know what you're asking. If you did it via ballot,
Yes.
and said we want to levy 2 mills and dedicate it to the roads, and the voters approved that, that would be a ironclad dedication to roads only.
For whatever period.
For
of time
whatever
it's in
period
the
of
ballot.
time you decided to do that for, on the ballot question. If you did it not administratively, if you did it by council action without going to the vote of the people, which you can do, you've got the ability because you've still got some room in between your cap, so you could do it without a vote of the people. You could, as long as this council was the same, instruct the staff administration to use it only for the roads. But you could also change at the next meeting, or when a new council comes in, they could change it. So you couldn't, if you did it that way, you couldn't bind future councils to dedicating it to roads.
Perfect.
So that's the answer.
And anything above Headley has to go to the,
Anything, if you exceed your Headley number, your Headley cap, then you can do what's called a Headley override, which requires the vote of the people. That's correct.
Just to follow up and just to make sure, if it went on the ballot and it was for a term of 8 years, and we got through 4 years and we didn't need it anymore, we couldn't just say we don't want it anymore and not take the last 4 years?
I think the answer to that is yes, you could.
Okay.
Yeah, I've seen that happen in at least one other community where they I'm going to use the word marketed, that's the wrong way. They made that clear to the public that, look, we're going to ask you for 4 years. If we only need 2, then we're going to stop, beforehand. So, but yes, if you didn't need the money, you could certainly do that. Couldn't go longer, obviously.
okay, that's helpful. I totally misunderstood. I thought this 2%, or 2 mills, if that were to be voted on, was outside the Headley calculation. So
No.
that's very important. I got that one.
You're, whether you do it by vote or whether you do it as a council without the vote, your cap's your cap, and
Got it. So,
Dirk, regarding a special assessment district in
Yes.
conjunction with something on the ballot, would it have to be there that a special assessment district is included in the calculations? Or would that be?
no, special assessment district is completely separate from Headley. So it would have no bearing, if you did a special assessment and went for 1 mil, 2 mils, whatever you decided to go for, the special assessment would have no impact on.
So literally, we could,
The money you raise in the special assessment doesn't count for your tax cap, your general tax cap.
so there, in the ballot language,
You wouldn't mention the
you
special
would not
assessment.
mention a special assessment, no
No.
matter whether it was forthcoming or not.
No, because there's only two ways to create a special assessment. One is by motion of council, and the other is by petition. So you would, it's apples and oranges, and plus, a special assessment is not a tax, so you don't, it's not subject to Headley, is maybe the easiest way of saying it.
We talked in the study session about having some kind of ancillary information so that people can understand this. Today at this council meeting, some of our residents stood up and said, this is being really moved along quickly, because maybe we're up to speed, but our residents aren't up to speed, regardless of what was in a newsletter. And so I'm suggesting we take a look at the possibility of holding several town hall meetings, open community forums that are not in accordance with the Public Meeting Act.
Open
We
meetings.
would not have a majority of council members at any of these to form any quorum. But we would have a format in which residents could ask questions, express their concerns, maybe even come up with ideas, who knows. But at least make a real concerted effort to have as many people who might possibly want to be involved in this discussion participate.
The only time constraint you're really, pushing the physical condition of the roads aside as being a time constraint, but the only legal time constraint you're under is if you decide that you want to take something to the voters, then you need to have a resolution considered and adopted to put it on the ballot at your July meeting, if you want to get on the November ballot. I don't believe there's any special elections scheduled in 2025. If there were, then or you could always hold a special election. So that's really the only legal requirement that you have. The one thing I wanted to mention about the combination of special assessments and taking it to the voters is the two component approach. If you took it to the voters and the idea was we're going to do part of it special assessment, part of it goes to the voters, if the voters vote it down, there's a problem, because now your formula doesn't work anymore. And so you either have to increase the amount of the special assessment or put that on hold, and after a certain period of time go back to the voters and maybe ask them a different question or a different amount. So just keep that in mind, that if you do the combination and the combination includes going to the voters, you're not going to do anything with the special assessment until the voters approve it, because it wouldn't make any sense, because it wouldn't be sufficient in and of its own, or on its own. You avoid that problem if you, as a council, decide to increase the mills without going to the voters, because you've got the certainty then of knowing that that's going to happen. I just want to make sure. It's something I should have mentioned at the last meeting, and I didn't, and I just want to make sure everybody's clear on that.
I was thinking, I thought if we increase it as a council, it cannot be designated specifically for roads. Is that correct or not correct?
You can, as long as you're the council, you can instruct the administration to implement that. But if there was a changeover in council, retirements or whatever, it wouldn't bind future councils.
Okay, but if it goes to vote,
It would.
and it's designated, then it has to stay designated even if there's a change.
It has to, yes, that's correct, that's correct. But then there's the risk of the uncertainty of it failing and the impact on the combination with the SAD, and
Correct.
it would no longer.
But on that point, in any event, the SADs would be implemented. It can only be implemented after the work was done, so that would always be behind.
No, you can implement a special assessment district in anticipation of the work being done. In fact, that's generally how you do it. You create the district, and whether you bond or not, but it's generally before the improvements are done.
How long does it take to actually have a formal district created? Is it
5 to 8 months.
5 to 8 months?
Yeah.
And what kind of costs are involved with that?
Well, there's legal costs, but they're not significant. I've done a number of SADs, so that, $5,000 top end probably. But I think the bigger costs are going to be the design costs, because you have to have your engineers or some consultant, but presumably your engineers, come up with cost estimates and design the project and what it's going to cost. And because one of the requirements of your ordinance, your special assessment ordinance, is that you have these estimates prepared, and then there's the bidding process to, with respect to the contractor, and so their costs would be more significant than the legal fees would be.
Sir, would the resulting paperwork be something that the residents would have to look at, something this substantial?
I don't think so. No.
Okay.
Not-
Could it be
not for-
boiled down to something very quickly reviewed without, or is it going to take a lot of laborious work and discussion with residents to go through all the legalities of a special assessment?
No, the legal end of it isn't that hard. I'll give you a real quick summary. I mean, basically, you're probably going to consider it over 3 to 5 meetings. There's certain time periods that are specified by the ordinance. You have 2 public hearings, a public hearing on necessity and then a public hearing to confirm the special assessment role, but there's some meetings in between those that you'll have. The biggest gap is once you have the hearing of necessity and approve the district itself, then you've got to go out and let the bids and then see what number actually comes back, because you can't prepare the special assessment roll until you have the data from the bids telling you exactly what it's going to cost. You will have an estimate done before that, but oftentimes the estimates, could be low, could be high. So you really can't prepare the special assessment roll until you have the bidding process gone through, and that's what usually takes a couple of months, frankly, to do
And
that.
we would do that 3 times if we were going to do 3 special assessments?
If you did 3 separate special assessments, yeah.
We'd have to do it 3 separate times.
Right.
You could not-
That gets that's more costly than just the 5,000 I mentioned, because I would, and silly me, but I was assuming one special assessment district and then supplemented somehow with mills, whether it was, mills from a ballot proposal or by council. But yeah, if you did 3 separate special assessment districts, which you'd have to do if they weren't contiguous.
Right.
Yeah,
We've got
do 3
a
times.
proposal that has 3 separate districts, but there's a possibility that 2 of those 3 might be combined in a relatively short period of time. Could that go through as one district, with Category A as being one district and Category B as another district? They would most likely have the same amounts.
If they were contiguous, you could have them as one district. If they weren't contiguous, you would have to have separate districts. I guess, hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah,
You
I
mean
think,
continuous in work? In
Or
the,
you mean
No,
contiguous?
physically,
Physically.
location-wise.
Geographically connected, I think is what he's talking about.
which it could be 2. It could be
Yeah.
2.
We could.
Could be one north.
So,
of
for
13,
instance, you
one
couldn't
south
have,
of 13.
you couldn't have,
Okay,
They
so we
can't
could do
combine
it.
those 2.
We could do
you
the
couldn't have a
road.
district here and a district there with separation between them and have that as one special, it'd have to be 2 separate special assessment districts. However, if they were combined, if they were contiguous, right up against each other, that could be one
So
district.
as long as one of the roads bumps into the other road, like Bingham Lane bumps into Bingham Road, that would make,
You can be creative with the boundaries.
okay.
as long as they're all one.
Yeah, 13 would be the good one.
I get-
That reduces costs if we do it that way.
Just responding to the thought, to one of the residents' comments earlier, to your comment about other ideas, I honestly think that we've had a very open forum. These two gentlemen participated in, I don't know how many meetings, 6, 8 meetings that went through laborious details on different options, different things. I think that inaction at this point is the worst thing that we can do. Yes, we're going to have to continue to educate residents if we get to a vote or whatever we're going to do. We have to have that outreach and do that. But I think the experts are telling us the faster we can get going, the better it is. We stop some of the deterioration. I really think we've had a very open process around this, and I know there was people attended those meetings. They're all on video. They can all be watched. I definitely don't think waiting is the best option. I think we need to act on one of the proposals.
I'm not suggesting that if we have town hall meetings, we wait. I just dummied up a flyer. Okay, I mean, I'll just pass this around. This is crazy. This is my 4 o'clock this afternoon thinking. It's crazy, but it's something to have. Well, actually, why don't you just take one back? Something in people's hands. Not everyone goes to the internet. Unfortunately, as much as we try, we can't get everyone to log into the internet. Here's some more. It's just a crazy thought. And so putting something in people's mailboxes, whether it's through the U.S. mail or however we do it, and it have to be through the U.S. mail, but saying, okay, what should we do? Here, come and talk to us. If they don't respond, they don't respond. But at least this is another way, besides the internet, for our older constituency in Bingham Farms to say, we tried to let you know that if you've got concerns, if you've got ideas, come, talk in an informal setting. And that's what I wanted it to be, because that's what a town hall meeting is. It's an informal setting where people can air their thoughts and feelings. Coming to a council meeting is truly an option, but some people feel intimidated. And so I'm just trying to bring us to the people. That's all I'm trying to do with something like this, with the town hall meeting, and to hear the words. And also encourage participation in an election. When I went to the homeowners meeting that we had in Outland Trail, people said, at least you talked to us about what's going on. I was going to just vote no automatically because I didn't understand anything. But now, after just telling us that there are these options and this is what you're thinking about, I feel a little more informed, and I really want to get into it so that I make an intelligent vote. And I thought that's the words of a good voter. But right now, he said before this, there was nothing. I said, well, it's there he said, well, it's pouring and pouring through the webpage to get to the right place at the right time. Not everyone has the patience or the inclination to do that. So that's why I'm going to slap this in their mailbox and see what happens.
I don't have a problem with trying to get people as informed as possible. However, I have to agree with Aaron that we've been working on this.
Trustee Crable.
Trustee Crable. We've been working. Trustee Crable. We've been working on this for at least 2 years, more than 2 years. And if we don't come to a decision today, there's a very good likelihood that we're going to lose a whole another construction period next in 2025. So while I don't have any problem with maybe having meetings after we come to some sort of a decision, I think if we do that and there's a ballot proposal, I think there are some issues in terms of we can't as a council before the ballot proposal.
You cannot take a position on a ballot proposal one way or another. You have to be completely neutral.
Which makes meetings at that point, I think, harder to do, okay? Having said that, and having listened to all the discussion, and because I think I really think we have to have something today to go forward so that we don't lose next construction season and put this off another year, incur another year's increase in the cost of everything. I have a motion to present.
Sorry, before you do that, may I ask a couple questions to the engineer that would, because I'm sure we can ask questions once you have your motion
Right.
too, but it would maybe help inform. So he's, our engineer's here today, so thank you. So I had a couple questions. I know we've been if we talk about options for Bristol Lane, because that's the most expensive option, if we were to try to balance where we're spending the money evenly, which would allow for, let's say, call it $1.5 million to $1.8 million or something like that to do Bristol and the courts. I know that's nothing close to a complete reconstruction that you proposed, but would you be able to come up with a way to get that to last another 5-10 years? Is
If you
there?
give us a budget, we can work a design into the budget that you have, and that's what we do.
Yeah.
So,
I know you can't tell me probably tonight what that looks like,
no,
but
I mean, the 2-inch mill and overlay type for everything, I think the proposal had about 1.85 or something like that for everything. I actually, after that meeting on Wednesday, I went back and actually put together an estimate. I think I came up with like 2.1 around, so just a little bit above that for that, just the basic rehab, whereas the full reconstruction was like 4.3 or 4.4, something like that.
But I'm talking
Is
about
there
all
something
the
in
courts
between?
too.
Yeah, all the cul-
Yeah.
all
Oh, that was all the
cul-de-sacs,
courts
all the
too.
cul-de-sacs too. Is there something in between that we could maybe work out? Yeah, I mean, if and that's why we had kind of talked about doing that maybe last, seeing where all the other projects fall in. You know, if we end up, under budget on some of those, maybe we have a little bit more budget to put into that. If we end up right on budget with all those, then maybe we just do the 2-inch overlay,
No.
or 2-inch mill overlay if you wanted to.
The only issue the ordering is important, and part of me, after reflecting on last Wednesday, to me, it seems more important to get to the other side of 13, Bingham Lane, Bingham Road, where the projects are less intense and more dependent on the current quality of the road.
Correct.
But the downside to that is if Bristol deteriorates more, we probably have less and less options as it deteriorates.
Well, I mean, I think if you're doing an improvement based on costs, then the deterioration doesn't matter. You're basing what you want to do based on how much it costs, not based on what the road condition is. So it really doesn't matter how far it's going to deteriorate. It's just gonna, that's not your decision factor is no longer the condition of the road. It's how much it costs.
How much money we have to what we can do.
Well, you're saying if you want to just do the 2-inch mill and overlay, there's a set cost for that, and you're saying that's what we want to do. It doesn't really matter how far it deteriorates. Yes, the sooner you get it, the better. But we're already saying that that's not going to be a good maintenance candidate for that. It's beyond that. The other roads that you said, the ones that we want to catch earlier in the cycle, it's great to do those first because then they're in better condition. We can preserve those better.
Right.
It also works with, I don't know if you said scheduling doesn't matter, but when we get authorization, those projects, those ceiling type projects are quicker to get out too.
Yeah.
So we're already kind of behind schedule based on the proposal. That was correct. We probably should have had authorization at least in May. If not, like I said, we are already designing projects for spring of 2025 currently, and are 20-30% underway with those already.
Well, I mean,
So those projects, but the ceiling projects can be done quicker because they don't need as much detail.
much engineering. So when I reflected on that Wednesday conversation, with the amount that we currently have in savings, it's a little short, but we almost have enough to do everything as pitched in Proposal 5, other than Bristol Lane. maybe let's call it $400,000 or $500,000 short. But we have to remember, we've got, no matter what happens, be it a millage increase by council or a vote, we have $2.7 million that I think we should get spending and get into the roads.
Get rolling soon.
Yeah. And we may, if we went to the ballot and it didn't work, then we're
back to square one.
But I don't think we can wait to get going, especially on the roads that are more dependent on having that, getting that maintenance, call it maintenance, done to extend the life. That's so. I think I've had a little different view Wednesday, I think, in the ordering, but I think that. Well, you answered my question. If we told you we had $2 million to spend on it, there's probably a
Tailor something.
It's not going to be a reconstruction. It may not even be a mill, and it may be something less than a mill.
And you may want to say, let's put it into the drainage more than to the pavement. Maybe we just do an overlay, or knowing that it's going to come back weak. Can figure something out.
Okay.
That's what we do.
Thank you.
I drove down Bristol Lane 8 times today, and I drove down every street in the village today. And there's bumpiness when you go down Bristol Lane. There's no two ways about it. But that bumpiness seems to be from 2 things. One, there are a couple of manhole covers that have a great big round vacant circle around it. But that circle is very fixable as a separate little project. The bumpiness seems to be from a patch that was done where it abuts the other road that wasn't patched. So there's a lot of patching, but those patches looked good and solid to me. So if you do the mill and cap, that bumpiness that I felt would be gotten rid of, and those manhole covers would be fixed. Correct.
So all manhole covers, that's something we always do with any road project, is manholes are always the first thing that kind of settle, things like that. The patches are good because you dug down, you got, a good material and put them in. When you just mill and overlay, those patch areas will still be good while the rest of the road doesn't have that. So eventually you will see that come through because you're not correcting that in those areas. So it'll take some time, but yes, all that bumpiness will come back through even if we just mill and overlay. Because we haven't corrected the base in those other areas.
That's the question.
We found the worst of the worst, and we patched and patched, and have been fixing it, and it's bumpy, but it's solid still. But the manhole covers, for certain, are something that we always fix. They're always the biggest hassle to do too, because no contractor that does paving wants to do that, because you got to dig around it, you got to take the manhole structure, the cover, and tilt it up and plumb it right, and it's tedious work, and they don't like to do that.
Does the overlay, it's always 2 inches, or if it's made to 3 inches, does that buy you extra time?
It'll buy you a little bit extra time, but you're paying a lot. Each inch of asphalt is very expensive. The amount of time that you can get by another inch, I don't think it's worth it, but you will get a little extra time. Asphalt's expensive. That's if you look at any of the cost estimates, that is one of the most, that and all the drainage piping. So those are the 2 biggest things for cost-wise.
I see at the end of 5.0, we've got almost $1 million excess in 2037.
But which proposal is that?
This is
5.0.
5.0.
Okay.
And that's the one that you're more in favor of?
Well, if I may, before, we all know that we need to increase taxes to cover the cost of the roads. The road project has basically told us that. Little background. We are the 3rd lowest tax rate in southeast Oakland County, according to you guys. You guys put this together. I want to also note that the highest is Hazel Park at 35.61 mils. That's, to me, pretty darn high. If we add 1 mil, and this is all covered by one of the, was it this fall newsletter that went out? Approximately, if we go 1 mil, that's approximately $262 per household. It creates $195,000 a year. This would then equal to what Troy has in 10 mills. They're the 4th lowest in southeast Oakland County. If we had 2 mills, approximately $523 per household creates $390,000. Doing this then would equal what Bloomfield Hills has at 10.96 mills. They're the 6th lowest. We've retained 9 mills for more than 4 years and have done very little in road maintenance. I also believe that I have stated in the past, and we, being Bingham Farms, we're all in this together. So therefore, I am not in favor of an SAD for those living on public roads versus those living on the private roads. I feel there would be almost a us versus them kind of faction going on, and I would not be part of that. We do need the roads fixed to maintain the value of all the homes in the village. I see the road project as a multi-year project, possibly extending out to 8 to 10 years. May not quite fit what we have, but I think that might be a little bit better. This will give us time to accumulate funds to cover it for the next phase of each project. Option 3, along with option 2, gives us 4 to 5 years to complete, but note that this also includes a $2 million SIB loan. I would suggest not have the loan and therefore extend it out, create a little bit more income to cover that. I would propose the time frame for proposal 3 to be amended to put 2 years between projects, possibly eliminate the necessity of a loan. And I propose that Bristol Lane, I think one of the things we kind of came up with, be brought up to the same pace of raising as the rest of the asphalt roads in the village. So therefore, we would not have to go to the ballot for a vote. We would then put together and say, okay, we're going to do the mills this much, it's going to give us this much money, we want to do this first. What have you guys got? Give us a proposal. What do you think? Let's talk back and forth, and let's go and get that project done, then go to the next project and the next.
The only thing I would add is I'm more in favor of doing them now before the roads deteriorate. The $2 million SIB loan, to me, is something the village could handle. It allows us to have a lower millage increase over a longer period of time rather than something, like 3 mills for a shorter period of time. I'd be more in favor of lower over a longer period of time. I just, the only thing I would say related to these proposals are, I don't think we should set out and say we're going to do a 2-inch mill and fill or whatever it is. We should say we're going to allot this much money for these roads, and we're going to get an expert's opinion on how best to use it. And that's more or less to me what 5 is, but with that little caveat that I don't have the experience to dictate how we should fix the road. I think we should do it in a financially constrained way that, in my view, limits it to a total of, call it $5 million. We got 2.7 in savings. We need to raise the 2.5. I'm more in favor of raising a portion through millage and a portion of it through a smaller SAD, through 2 SADs, but I think there's probably some, I understand your point that it creates public-private, but, the 2.7 million was raised through taxing all residents.
Correct.
The other mill or whatever we would propose to add is going to be from all residents.
Correct.
I think it's an attempt to balance the fairness a bit by having these, what I would propose 2 SADs, but I think in that, the numbers that were in some of these proposals that had a $500 SAD for 10 years was raised about $1 million, just short of, I think, $950,000. So my 2.7 in savings, $1.5 million from an increase millage rate, another $1 million from the SADs gets you $5 million, and that's would be my view of the constraint we should put on this in an attempt to get it done quickly and allow us to, benefit from the quality of the roads, that we, maintain the quality.
I'm in favor of you guys thinking about the special assessment being there, rather than all the burden falling equally all across the village, because I'm also 51.3% of the voters are going to have to say what they want to happen, as well as 49.7% of the other voters, or 48.7%. So it's going to be getting every last person out to vote is what it's going to be all about.
If it goes to a vote.
If it goes to a vote.
Did you want to speak now? Okay.
My name is Ben Templeton. I live at 23172 Old Orchard Trail. I think doing any form of SAD is irresponsible. We live on public roads. The public uses Bingham Road. When Telegraph has traffic, Bingham Road is used as a thoroughfare. They're not being taxed. We talk about 51% of our residents live on private roads. A lot of our private roads are in 2 individual subdivisions, and just by statistics, they use most of our fire department. I'd like to pay the fire department that same ratio. I want to pay the police only when I get pulled over or when they come to my home. It's not how society works. We live on public roads, we have public services, and we pay for them. That is an equal share of all residents. We pay for public schools. It was said earlier, if I wanted my kids to go to private school, I still have to pay my portion of public schools, and I'd have to pay for my private. That's a decision I make in my life. But 49% or whatever the number is that chose to live on public roads. They were told that these would be publicly funded roads. And now we're going to create a special assessment for no added benefit. We're not getting anything additional. We live here, we paid to have for roads. And now you're going to say half our residents who have decided to live on private property, they no longer have to live up to their obligation of paying their fair share of the taxes. That just doesn't make sense. Like I said, I've had the fire department at my house once. I just want to pay for that one visit. But that's just not how the world works. I think it's irresponsible to do that. But at the same time, I also feel like we elected you guys to make these decisions. And to take this to town halls and public meetings is really a waste of your time. We've been talking about this for just over 3 years. And this is the crowd we get every time. Nobody shows up to these things unless they are truly interested. You guys have done a great job of letting us know when these meetings are, and you get 5, 6 people every single time. There was a meeting 2 years ago about having a new trustee. We had 35 people in the room. That was just as publicized as this meeting. People choose to come when they want. This is the decision you guys need to make, in my opinion. A special assessment is wrong, in my opinion. And, if you guys decide to raise taxes, which is the proper decision, in my opinion, the next council is not going to change how to use that money. They're going to have loans to pay back. You guys are going to have to get loans to fix the roads, and they're not going to just say this $2.5 million can be used wherever they want. We will have an obligation to pay our debt. So that's just my feeling.
Thank you.
You should have asked anybody else who hasn't spoken yet.
Yeah, I guess now would be the time, since we've paused for public comment on the roads. Is there any other public comment right now on the roads?
Joel Lavity, 23060 Sager Court. For over 20 years, I have served on Southfield Township's Board of Review. For those people that aren't familiar with that, that's when people come in and appeal their property taxes. As the chair of that group for over 20 years, I can tell you, and I'll use this past year as an example, there were 2 people that came in and appealed their taxes, one out of the condos, one out of one out of Bingham Road. As was mentioned in a previous meeting, if individuals, some people coming into the village, and I've seen this repeatedly, that think that they're going to pay the taxes based on the home that they purchased, only to find out that it's been uncapped, okay? And then it's a big surprise to them. Never in the 20-plus years that I've had this has there been an issue with regards to people paying in the condos the $450, $500 or whatever it is, a monthly assessment, or in the other areas, Bingham Road and, the Outlands, Bingham Point. So my point being is, based on decades of experience with people appealing their property taxes, there would be a hemorrhage of individuals that all of a sudden get an additional special assessment district because of where they live. And coincide with what Ben mentioned in terms of the individuals that come into the village, and some of us have been here for 40 years, they have been the result of the actions that they've taken that have brought people into the village that have been here for, a year, 18 months, a year and a half, 12 years, 10 years type of thing. The actions that have been taken by prior individuals that have lived here for an extended period of time have brought people in, regardless if they've come into the condos or come into, regular residential homes. So, again, based on what I've seen over the course of time, there will be a hemorrhage of people if there's a special assessment districts that get instituted. So,
Thank you.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion. I move that the village council proceed with the project to reconstruct the village roads using option 5 of the road project advisory committee's proposals as its guide, and that specifically the council directs, 1, the village attorney to prepare ballot language for a 1 mil tax proposal for the November 2024 election, with such millage to be for a period of 8 years, and the proceeds from such millage to be used solely for the reconstruction or repair of the village roads, or to repay village borrowings made for the purpose of construction or repair of the village roads. 2, the village instruct Hubble Roth to complete such additional engineering studies as are needed to begin the repair of Bristol Lane and the 3 adjoining courts in a manner consistent with Proposal 5. 3, the village council direct its attorney to prepare for the required public hearings on creating a special assessment district for Bristol Lane and its 3 adjoining courts, with such hearing to happen soon enough that when concluded, any special assessment may be added to the 2025 tax roll, but if possible, taking place after the November 2024 millage election so that they may be canceled if the millage fails. 4, the council direct the village manager to prepare a message to the voters detailing Plan 5, including the proposed millage increase and the proposed special assessments, with the message to be reviewed by the council and the village attorney prior to being distributed to the public before the November election. Further, the council recognizes that future circumstances, including new information or new facts, may require changes to this plan, and that nothing in this motion shall prohibit the council from making any changes which may be required by any future circumstances.
Couple of things. Well, you need a second first. So.
Is there a second?
I second the motion.
So a couple of things. You're going to need 4 votes to pass any motion. So it can't be a simple majority of people that are here. You're going to need a majority of everybody that would constitute the council. So you can vote tonight, but you need 4 votes to pass any motion. But I want a clarification with respect to the Bristol Lane part. Because as I said earlier, I don't know how you can begin any SAD process until you know whether the ballot proposal has been approved. Because you can't midstream in an SAD process just say, well, we didn't get this much money, so now we're going to change all the. It doesn't work that way. You need to have an estimate at the beginning. Then you have to go out for bids. that's the part of the motion that I'm struggling with, is the SAD portion of, not the SAD portion of it in concept, but the SAD portion, doing anything with that in terms of timing until you know whether the ballot proposal passes. Because you had a date in there that you wanted the thing to be up and running and collected in November of '25, and I don't know. You can do that, but you're going to be limited to whatever number you pick right up front, and you're going to have to go out and get bids. And what if you go out and get bids and you find out the number is $1 million and the ballot proposal fails? What do? That's the problem with the motion.
I'm not sure quite sure I understand. That proposal, that part of the, well, first of all, Plan 5, the special assessment is for $500 a year for 10 years. Okay, and the motion states that we have the hearings so that they will be conducted soon enough so that the special assessment may be added to the 2025 tax roll, but if possible, taking place after the millage rate, so that if the millage rate fails, you can cancel the special assessment hearings. In other words,
I'm not sure the timing works, but we can try.
So we would go through the process of creating the special assessments and then cancel them?
Well, if
Once you approve the roll, you've approved the roll.
If we can do the special assessment district after the November election, then start the process after the November election, so long as it can be completed in time to get it on the 2025 tax roll.
Which would be July 1.
July 1, right.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, so
You would always have to be, because we need an estimate to do that anyway.
because I just want to make, it's one thing if the special assessment for Bristol Lane is a standalone, and it doesn't matter what happens with the ballot proposal to make that work, and I don't think that's what you're saying. I think you're saying that it is somewhat, maybe I'm getting it wrong, but if it's a standalone and it doesn't need, to do the Bristol Lane SAD, doesn't need any help, if you will, from the road millage.
No, it would need help.
Okay, all right, so then and maybe that's what you said. I was trying to write as quickly as I could, and then I said stop because I'm going to ask you for it later. But, so you're saying to begin the process for the SAD after the November election, with the attempt of...
So long as we can do it within a time frame that it gets on the...
And those bills would go out in July? Be tight, but you could probably do it. Okay. All right, okay.
Dirk, is the estimate as important when it's going to be a fixed fee SAD and not necessarily based, the people in the SAD are not paying a full cost of the improvement. They're paying a fixed fee that's going to be less than the total cost.
Well, they're
not really going to be lower than it ever.
The people in the Bristol Lane SAD will be paying a certain amount that is needed to do some portion of the Bristol Lane improvements. And I don't even think we really know what that number is.
Say there's 500.
We have estimates, I know, but...
Yes, to say there's 500 people, or 100 people in the Bristol Lane SAD, and then it's 500 apiece. That's what, $50,000 or $500,000? We know it's going to cost more than that to do any improvement there.
And you can do an SAD for any portion of the cost. It can be 10% of the cost, it can be 50%, it can be 100%. You can break it up any way you want.
It's going to be a fixed fee, though, like you're talking about?
This would be a portion of it.
Yeah, I just want, when I first heard the motion, I'm thinking, if the idea is to have the SAD process completed by November,
No.
we could probably do that, but if some portion of that project is contingent upon, the taxes, then it doesn't make sense.
It is contingent on the taxes, and the hope would be that we could at least conclude that
That process.
after.
Gotcha. I understand. Okay. So it'd be tight, but I think you could probably do it.
Can I have a question and a comment on the motion? So I thought you mentioned 8 years on the millage, but I think 5 is based on 10 years. So that's going to be off the numbers.
Did I get it wrong? 8's right. 8 is right?
8 is right?
8 is right. Will incur that's the first of the observations. All Bingham Farms residents and commercial property owners will incur a 1 millage increase in the taxable value of their properties for 8 years, beginning 2025 and ending when the loan is repaid in 2032.
Okay. So when I was using the more rough numbers today on the 5 million, my whole, what I stated earlier about 5 million and splitting that up, I was assuming 10 years at 1 mil, not 8. So that very well may be the case for 5, but okay, so your 8 was on purpose.
I think so, yeah.
If I understand if you were to take out the special assessment district, I think that would, using my 10-year model that I had on 1 mils, that millage would have to go up to something like 1.4 to compensate for the not having an SAD. I'm just stating that as a factual point. I think that's close.
Seems
about right. So it's the difference between 1 mil or 1.4 mil. Again, using my 10-year number, maybe it's 1.5 if it's 8 years. I don't know, to compensate for not having an SAD. I think that's a fact that is helpful for everyone.
Can I make just a comment or two about this proposal? This is something that I've really agonized over for quite a while and literally lost sleep over. And it's meant as a compromise proposal. There are things in it that I don't like. Speaking as just someone who lives on a private road, I spent some time with the Bloomfield Township people, and their roads are done completely by special assessment. Like the last project being like $42,000 to $48,000 per house. Birmingham, I think, does their roads by special assessment. I don't want to have somebody pay $42,000 to $48,000 to pave their road. On the other hand, I've talked with numerous people on the private roads, and they don't want to pay any part of the roads. This is an attempt at doing something that is a compromise, and it's also an attempt. I think I might have 4 votes to just do this without any kind of vote by the people. And I don't think that's fair either. I don't think it's fair to just, for just 7 people, to decide for something this important. So I think it should be on the ballot so that people can vote on it. And if people don't want to do it, then fine, they're not going to do it. But maybe they can, in considering whether to vote yes or no, maybe they can consider that if we don't do this, it's another year down the drain. Okay? If they don't do this, the next time somebody might come up with the idea of a special assessment for the entire amount for the people who live on the roads. People on the private roads might consider that the next time, the next proposal might be a 3% tax increase for everybody, and they might get stuck with doing that. I mean, I don't think that anybody is going to be completely happy with this. I don't anticipate that they would be. However, it's a proposal that finally, after I don't know how many years, moves the ball forward a little bit and makes an attempt at trying to compromise so that everybody gets something. Okay, although nobody is going to get exactly what they want. I'd also, mention that, I think we made a mistake Well, when we first set up the road committee, one of the things that the road committee asked us was, what PASER ratings are you looking for? Are you looking for to get all the roads up to a 10? And we told them no. We were looking for to just get the roads to like 5 or a 6. I fear, and this is not an adverse reflection on you guys. I think you guys do good work. But I fear the proposal to completely redo Bristol Road, and with all the 25% contingency is to get the roads to a 10, not to a 6, 5 or 6. And I really think, I think we could strain and maybe do all of that, but I think it would put us very near the cap, the 12 cap. The proposal 3 was a 2.1% tax increase, and if we go back to the 25% contingency fee, 2.1% would not be enough. It would have to be like 2.5% or 2.6%. And I just think...
Trustee Jones, it's mills, not percents.
I don't know why.
I know. I don't want to confuse anybody.
I don't know why I keep doing that. I apologize. Mills, and it's there's a possibility that this village is going to have another major issue within the next few years having to do with its fire department. I'm not convinced that the volunteer fire department is sustainable for the next 10 years in its current form. And if I'm right on that, and I was pleased to hear that they got one more additional volunteer, that's good. But if I'm right on that, there's going to be a need, an undefined need in terms of cost, in terms of what we're going to do to modify the fire department if in fact that becomes an issue. And if we're near 12% on just the roads, I don't know how we're going to do.
12
I did it again. We're near 12 mills on just the roads. I don't know how we do that. This is what I would call the Deb Hedge concern, because Deb raised it last meeting, and that is, yes, the roads are important, but fire and police might be even more important. And I'm leery of getting too close to 12%.
Mills.
We got you, Kurt. Don't worry. We got you.
I'm worried about getting too close to the cap and having something come up where in the middle of a year we need to then have a special election just because we're too close to the cap and we can't go over it without an election to fix whatever problem it is. So that's sort of the logic behind why I'm making this motion. I don't anticipate people are going to be thrilled by it. I'm not thrilled by it. I certainly didn't run for this office thinking I would be proposing a tax increase. But to me, it's the best way forward in the situation that we're in, which is not ideal. So I'm going to shut up so I don't say percent anymore.
The one thing you brought up, though, was you were talking about doing Bristol Lane first, and we have been also suggesting that we take care of Bingham Road and that area first, being that it's the easier one to take care of, then go to Bristol Lane.
I think, and maybe I heard something new tonight that maybe is different from what I thought. It's why, quite frankly, the last paragraph said something to the effect that this plan recognizes that there may have to be changes made in the future as more facts are developed or come to being. But my understanding is, and now I'm thinking maybe I'm not right about this, that my understanding was that for a chance for the partial renewal to work, you're better off doing that quicker.
Yeah.
And that if you wait another couple years, that might not even be an option to do a partial. There might not be enough asphalt left to put something over. And that's why I think Proposal 5 suggested that be done first. Now, if I'm wrong on that, we could go back and change the order of which roads we did first. And I think we could do that at a later meeting. But in order to do some of what this proposal suggests, these guys have to get started. This guy has to start drafting ballot language. And we need to do that sooner rather than later. This gentleman would have preferred to have done it starting last month. That's why.
And the ballot language has to be on your July agenda. That's the last meeting you can do it, unless you have a special meeting.
I'm going to add something probably more controversial, because I am also believe 5 is the right path, maybe with a few modifications, potentially the length of the 1 mil increase. I personally think that it's in this council's discretion to make that type of change without going to the voters. I don't say that without having thought about it for a long time, but I think the speed to get this started and get this done is important. I think that the place that the council would be in, should it not be accepted by the voters, is a situation that I don't know how the next council will come out from, because I think it will put it in a very hard place, and we have to be, I would feel differently if we were talking about 3 mills, 4 mills, even 2 mills maybe. But a 1 mil increase over 10 years to pay for maintenance of the roads, I guess what I'm saying is the only reason that I would probably not vote for that would be because I think we should make that decision as a council, and make that tough. It's a tough decision on the SADs, but we make those decisions. I think it is the most fair compromise. It's a situation that no one will like, versus if we go one way or the other, it's going to be liked by 50% of the residents. This is, I think, a fair compromise, but I think it should be done. I think it could be done without going to the ballot.
Your point about extending the 1 mil for 2 more years could put enough money at the tail end to do a little more on Bristol Lane and give you guys, say, another, I don't know what the number would be.
Possibly,
for another 2 more years.
But I still think it should be done. I would schedule these for 25, 26, 27, take the $2 million loan, get the work done in the next 3 or 4 years, and use that money what I was talking about is not a ballot, so it's up to future councils to determine whether it's 8 or 10 years. So
Right.
That's not really that important, but I think that the longer we wait, the more they deteriorate, the more the costs go up. I'm in favor of doing it now.
So if it's not a ballot, what's happening with the SAD? Is it still part of his motion?
Well, his motion stands as it is, but
Right,
I would
okay.
propose 5. I would propose the 1 mil increase. I'm more or less explaining why I'm likely to not vote
Right.
yes on Kurt's motion, but I would retain the SADs at the 500.
You would retain, okay, so I'm clear with the SADs. Do we vote for the SAD, or do we have to send it out to the residents?
You would vote on the
We would
SAD.
vote
We
on
vote.
the
But that's not today.
Right.
But you can get that process moving much quicker because you have certainty as to the 1 mil.
That's right. So we could start that SAD process next month.
Next month, August, yeah, certainly way quicker.
I wanted
And we
to,
could delay all the SADs by just taking them one at a time.
But, yeah.
okay, I'm sorry. We're trying to give everybody a chance to speak.
Kurt, just so I'm clear, if this motion passes, and there's a millage proposal on the ballot in November, what happens to the SAD portion if the millage is not approved?
But if possible, after the meetings, the SAD meetings, but if possible, taking place after November 2024 millage elections so that they may be canceled if the millage fails. In other words, if the millage fails, everything fails.
Okay.
And part of the reason for that is, I
have more
understand what you're
questions.
saying. I understand we could pass an SAD, or require SADs without going to the people. I'm not comfortable doing that. I think people should have a right to vote on it.
But you don't vote on the SAD.
You don't vote on the SAD.
Well, no, but you don't, but you would be voting on the millage.
Right.
Right, so.
And if people didn't want the SAD, they could vote against the millage.
You know, I still have a few comments here. That was just one.
Sure. And then
So secondly, I will reiterate what I said last Wednesday. If you have a group of folks who are opposed to any millage increase at all, and you're putting these SADs in play, I'm afraid that you're creating a second group of folks that is also going to be opposed. You created two groups of folks in the millage proposal will obviously fail. That's how I feel about it. Now, secondly, I want you to all think about this. This motion or anything else, if you put something on the ballot, however many mills it is, or percentages or mills it is, and that fails, you're really putting the next council in a horrible position, because they're going to have to raise the millage anyway. So you've asked the people have voted, they said no, and you're going to have to raise it anyway after that.
Yeah.
And that, I would hate to be sitting in any of those chairs when that happens.
And this is one of the things that I'm proposing that.
And I'm done with
we do
that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, that's one of the points I was going to bring up is if it goes on the November ballot and it fails, 3 of these people are going to be gone. And it's going to be up to the rest of us and a brand-new council that are going to have to explain to the people why we took it to the ballot, to hear their voice. They voted it down, and then we turn around and raise it anyways. That's my fear. Because in order to get the roads done, we need money. And the only way to get it is from the people. So it will be up to those of us that are left, and then brand-new people, to explain to the people how we came to the decision of, thank you for your vote. You said no, we're saying yes. Anyway. And then the question will be, why didn't you just do it? Why did you ask the people? And that's going to be a really hard answer to come up with. We as council know right now we need the money. There's no two ways about it. We need this money. We don't have a money tree. We need it from the people. And if we decide that we want to do the roads, which we've decided, then we need to go get it from the people, and we need to stand up and do that and make that decision. We've been working on this for 2+3 years. I just have to push back a little bit on we haven't included the people. I mean, we sent these to every single door, these postcards with all the dates, 8 dates. The residents are the ones that drove all these proposals, so we did include the residents. We had 8 meetings that were sent to everybody's house. We had the special edition newsletter that was sent to everybody's house. We went to great lengths to record every single meeting and live stream it. We've recorded them. They're available on the website. People could have watched them live at home. They could watch them today. So if people haven't, we also added a study session. I could go on. Like, if people aren't engaged at this point, I don't know what else is going to make them be engaged. But my real concern about going to the people is, again, I don't want to have to face people and just say, we really didn't care what your opinion was. We knew it. And all we did was waste time and money and energy to wait for that ballot. So that concerns me. I am concerned about the SAD portion of it. My concerns are, we've never done anything like this before, so I don't know the workload that it's going to put on our one treasurer, whether it's the treasurer we have today or a future treasurer. We don't have a finance department here. We have one person. Are we going to end up having to outsource this portion of our finances? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe. I'm also coming from a public road person. I appreciate trying to make everybody happy, but speaking for the public road people, I agree that we're one community, one tiny, tiny community. And to split us at this point over roads, I think would be a mistake. I'm concerned that people keep saying $500 for the SAD, but we don't even know what the total amount is yet. So when you say $500, it might be a lot more than $500. What are we going to do if we have a 1.5 mil increase in $500 and it's not enough? Do you go back to the people in the SAD and say, we need more? I mean, we don't even have that number yet. So I like the number 500. I think that's pretty easy for a lot of people to absorb into their budgets. Maybe not everybody, but the majority. But what if it's not enough? We don't know yet. And I hate to take a project that is, you know, we all know Bristol Lane is in the worst shape and needs the most work. I hate to take a dollar amount and just say, well, we have this. Go do $1 million of work. That to me seems like throwing bad money after good, like, or good money after bad. To just say, well, just kind of pretty it up. And we all know that that's not the work that it needed. But in order to satisfy these people that were in the SAD who are paying into it, we're going to make it look pretty, but we all know that that road needs major repair. So if there was something that could be done in between, making it a 10, and I mean, right now it's like a 4. I mean, were we going to make it a 5? And how long would that last? We'd be right back to a 4 quickly, from what you're saying. So it just seems almost to me at this point, let Bristol Lane go. Why we even, if we're not going to fix it and fix it so that the repair lasts a reasonable amount of time, why would we do anything? Why would we not just take Bristol Lane off of the page and say, let it go, let it get worse, and when it comes time to fix it, we fix it right. But in the meantime, have collected a lot more dollars. That's just something that I've thought about. And another thing I've heard about, you know, is from the private road people is, well, we don't ride on the public roads. We don't drive on them, therefore we shouldn't have to pay for them. But, you know, I've had somebody ask me, I believe it's Outlands they were talking about as a park. I mean, can I come and have a family gathering in your park? Or play tennis? Or go swimming in your pool? You know, you guys pay to maintain those things, and they're private. I, as a Bingham Farms resident, can't use those facilities because I don't pay for them. They're private. Yet, our roads are public roads, and the people that live in the community don't want to pay for those. So maybe there's some sort of something that can be opened up there. I mean, maybe it could be community pool or community center or community park in Outlands, and we just make it all public. If we want to start going down this road of that's not mine, that's yours.
Can I want to respond to that exact comment because I'm in support of a $500 of a fixed amount in SADs, not because those of us that live on private roads don't use public roads. We do. I use them. My kids use them. I drive on them. I paid a portion of the $2.7 million. I'm going to pay a portion of the millage. It's only, I don't believe anyone on this council has proposed going down a full SAD to pay for public roads like other communities do. That would be, then I think your comment on, it's all being kind of paid for one or the other, that would make more sense. But I think that what the folks that came up with these proposals did was to try to balance the pain a little bit with an SAD, with a fixed amount on the SAD, because I fully believe that I should have to pay, I benefit from the betterment of all the public roads in the village because it keeps the value of my house up and all kinds of things. And I can drive down them, I can bike down them, I can do all those things. So I think I should pay a very fair portion of that. I think that the $5,000 per lot essentially was meant to attempt to try to balance that. And at least in my perspective, I don't think that people living on private roads shouldn't pay anything. I think they should pay a very big share, and I think they would be paying essentially in a $5 million proposal, they'd be paying 80% of the cost to redo the roads.
Their share of 80%.
Their share of 80%. Only 20% of the cost of fixing the roads, if we use a $5 million number, would be paid for through SAD. So I think that's, my reaction's a bit strong to the comment of like, those people don't think they should pay for public roads. They're paying for 80%.
That's right.
I think we have to keep that in mind.
And based on this, yes, but the comments I've heard from public road people are, I shouldn't pay for your roads, I don't drive on them.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
If Kurt's proposal, as it stands on the floor now, were amended to be from 8 years to 10 years, that would build extra money from the overall population millage to then possibly make a much more intense repair on Bristol Lane, especially if that project is managed very closely and the contingency is controlled very judiciously. So might you be willing to consider that, Kurt, as an option? And would that be amenable to you, Aaron?
And I'd like to hear from the engineer if that's even feasible.
Well, I have two comments I've been thinking about. Number one, Trustee Jones was absolutely correct saying that the proposal that was on the board does exceed the PASER rating for everything that we were talking about, keeping it into the 6 to 7 range, because the condition of the roads currently, you need new pavement pretty much on a majority of the road, which is just going to bring that exponentially up to a 9 or 10. Then you get some of the seal type roads that are going to be 7, 8 when they're done. So yes, they're going to be higher, but in order to be in aggregate 6 or so, which road are you not going to do? Because if you have 9s and 10s, you need 3s and 4s, right, to average everything out. So I don't think that was something that we wanted to kind of consider, was not doing one of the bad roads. So yes, you are correct. It exceeds what the committee kind of had put together. And the second thing is I just caution everyone on underfunding any. You put so much time and effort into all of this, and we came up with some preliminary cost estimates, and I reconfigured them after last meeting a little bit. I was still up in the $7 million number. This is 5. It's a big difference. So I just want to caution you on, if you do all this and just say we have 5, you might get to the point where we get to the end and we don't have enough money. I just want to caution you.
Or we don't do something.
Or that you don't do something, yeah. Which people voted on because, they thought their vote was going to get done, and it doesn't.
But again, That's why we vote on it, I think.
Yeah, I just want to caution you on
I
that. You do what
appreciate
you
you.
guys need to do, but, we put together estimates a lot. We do this a lot. We're not normally, 25% off.
Yeah, I by no means, when I talk about $5 million, think we can do what you've proposed for $5 million.
Okay.
No
Okay.
ifs, ands, or buts.
Things
Do I
that
think
happen.
you could do that for 8 maybe? I would hope maybe. You proposed 9, could we do it for 8? But I think, I'm talking about doing something different. I'm talking about limiting the work we're going to do to the funds we have available, which in my view, half saved already, half we got to get.
As long as that's the expectation.
Very different than what
Yeah.
you proposed. I totally
Okay.
accept that. Yes.
So then we would just need to all be on the same page that we're just sort of, you're saying we're kind of putting Band-Aid on things?
Well, again, we did a lot of work to go through and say, what is our recommendation for the most effective way to manage these roads? And again, you have a lot of, 3s and 4s that are just beyond the sealing and just, painting black again to kind of maintain them.
Right.
There's a couple, like Bingham Road and I believe it's Shagworth, and that we can just do a mill and overlay. The base is good enough where we can put nice new black surface. But some of them are just beyond that, we feel. Again, it's our recommendation based on all of our experience that we have. And you don't want to put, what do you say, good money after bad or whatever.
Right.
You don't want to do something just because you have money. You say, okay, just put $500,000 into that road.
Right.
Well, you're going to get patches like you have now.
And
It's really what you're gonna get.
that's where I was trying to get to is,
That's a patching program.
if we're gonna do it,
Yeah.
right? And then we have to be comfortable with saying council decided to do something that wasn't recommended by the professional engineers. We sort of, this is what they said to do, this is the money we had, this is what we decided to do. And if cracks start showing in 3 months and we still have the drainage issues and there's standing water and all of that, we have to be prepared to explain to people that.
And we can put a scope of work together, each one of these roads, and say, this is what we're doing, this is what we're not doing.
Right.
And that's how you want to do it, that's what we'll do. We've done it before. We say we have this much money to spend on this road, this is what we're going to do. This is what we can do, what about this, what about this?
Right, I just don't
We
want to
can do
get to a
that.
point where we're saying, here's $1 million, what can you do with it? And we spend $1 million and it's like.
What a lot of people do.
Right, we have.
But a lot of people also just let things deteriorate until they build enough money, like you had mentioned about, let it go. It's not worth putting, $1 million into a road that needs $4 million worth of work.
Right, I'd rather just wait and get the $4 million and do it right.
Well, I have a question whether we go a mill for 8 years, a mill for 10, and then the 500 SAD. We still don't know how much things are going to be. That's
my point.
I mean, whether you, I just think it's hard to either put it on the ballot or vote amongst us, whether it's 1, 2, or 3, for something that to me, I'm in the dark as to, because from your very first proposal to where we are now, after all the work the group did, I don't know for myself how much we're looking at. And I have a hard time to vote to spend money on something I don't know what it's going to cost.
Well, as you remember, we started very conceptual,
Yeah.
saying, okay, let's redo everything.
Right.
And then I said, okay, that's way too much, let's go down. So then we took
We took
more
it
time
down.
and effort and said,
Right.
okay, what's the minimum we need to do to try and meet this minimum PASER rate?
Right.
So that's why we've been reducing it
Right,
since we got to a number, and then the committee came in and, chopped a whole bunch off of it
right.
for just your insurance or they really, in my opinion, increased the risk of it being underfunded.
Right. But still, I don't know what the amount is. I guess that's my.
There's a couple numbers floating around.
Right.
There.
They
Whichever
keep
one
on
you
changing.
believe,
Yeah, they
or if you
change
want to
them.
manage
They can't-
expectations, I think you are correct. What is the number? I don't think you can say that right
The
now.
only way to know that is to go out and do a detailed,
Right.
it'd be another year we have to pay
Right.
for it. So that's, to me, it's not the right answer either. because we have to pay them to go
I
come up
know,
with the
I
estimate.
know, but we're also then asking residents to pay for something that if they come up to me and say, well, what are we doing and what are we paying? We don't know. I don't know, put it that way.
That's about the numbers that we had that we were comfortable with, so saying,
Right.
if you generate this much, we feel that you can do
Right.
everything that you want to do based on the assumptions that we made in that. And now when they get cut down, now yes, they are contingencies being cut, but contingencies for anyone that's built something, things change, things move,
Is
it
1.5
happens.
going to do it?
Pardon?
Is 1.5 mils going to to do it? Get us closer to your
What's that
number?
going to generate? I don't know what that's going to generate.
It would be about $300,000, is that right, Bill?
For how many years? The numbers are there. I just caution you on underfunding, probably putting so much effort into it to do all this, and then just, unless you manage the expectation, it changes.
So, I'm hearing that 1.5 mil over 10 years is going to get us $3 million more.
No,
No.
$3 million.
$3 million, period.
Total.
To do, just to level set one, to do a $9 million proposal, we're talking about 4 mills and an SAD. That's the reality of it.
Right.
It's not 1 to 1.5. It's not that.
That's why I put together what I did and suggesting, okay, 2 mills, it's approximately, $523 per household, creates, $390,000 a year. You have to accumulate that for a couple of years to get to the point where we would have enough money to do anything.
The numbers you're using, too, are 2023 numbers.
Correct.
Not 24.
I understand, yeah.
So there's a little more in there.
There's a little bit more in there, right. I was doing, again, calculating with the numbers that were presented, right. And I think and I agree with Lisa, that if we go to the voters and they say, nope, we're back to square one. And at that point, it's, as Aaron said, and I've stated, put on your big boy pants and let's make this happen. We need to make this happen now. Whether it's 1 mil, 1.2 mil, 1.4, 2, 2.1, I don't know. We don't, because at that point we'd have to say, okay, we want to do this on this particular road, what is it? And then we're going to have to come back and say, okay, we've got to increase by this much. We don't know. That's why it scares me putting anything on a ballot for that. They elected us to use the money properly, well, then we have to do that.
Just a couple of comments, and if I say percent, I probably mean mil. So the proposals do have numbers in them in terms of like how much would be spent on each road. So it's not like you would be guessing.
Right.
In terms, like each of the proposals, including Proposal 5, does have a number as to how much it would be for each road. So that's number one. Number two, I'm trying to think of a way to say this that I don't appear to be making, disparaging remarks, because it's not intended that way at all. But when the committee had a meeting with our experts and we sat and talked about the contingency, I came away with that meeting after a half an hour discussion and going through like some of the line items, like we have in here, we're repairing the drains for 12 driveways, but it might actually be 7. Okay, and that's just an example, and that's probably not even totally accurate. But I came away from that meeting convinced that we could cut the percentage, the contingency percentage, from 25% to 10%. I came, and I'm really conservative about stuff like that. And then, we came to the meeting the other day, and I heard it. I didn't hear that. I heard something completely different. And And with regards to the, you know, the whole Bristol Road thing, you know, I heard at our study session meeting, you know, if it's really not fair to say that road lasted 20 years, because if you go down it, you know, you're going to see that it's just like full of patches. Okay, I heard from a resident who said, if you go down that road, you don't even need to fix it because you can drive on it just fine and your car's not going to be damaged or anything else, you know? And you know what? I think both of them are right. They're coming at it from two different angles. So the road builder is talking about, you know, having this, you know, road up to spec and all this. The resident, you know, who doesn't want to do anything to it all, is talking about you can drive on it. You know, you can get to your house and your hubcap is not going to fall off. And so, to me, it's like, in terms of the cost, how much do you want to spend? If you want to go to the Cadillac level, if you want to go to the 10 level, it's going to cost way more than if you go to just, and maybe we will have to patch, you know, Bristol Road several times. In fact, there's $150,000 a year in the plan to do road repairs, and so maybe we would have to do that, and it wouldn't look like perfect for very long. But the alternative, doing the whole repair, is at least 2.5 mils, at least. Okay, and I just don't think it's a good idea to do that. Now, having said that, if this resolution goes down, and it might, I understand, like, you know, big boy and all that sort of stuff, but if this resolution doesn't pass tonight, you are making some decisions. Okay, if this resolution doesn't pass, you're saying there's not going to be anything on the ballot. Okay, that's number one. And number two, you're almost saying that we're not going to do Bristol Road next year because we won't have enough time to do the engineering. Okay, and again, you know, if we had more time, you know, I'd say fine, take all the time you want, and you know, all that sort of stuff. But we don't have time, so you're gonna, if this resolution doesn't pass, you've made some decisions. Just you know, try to be aware of that. So that's it.
I just want to say, I think the expectation, and I don't know what's going to happen on the motion, but if it doesn't go on the ballot and the decision is to made by council tonight, I think the expectation from Bill, in order to get it on the next tax bill, is that when we approve the budget portion of the mills we're going to levy, that's when we would do that tonight, right? So if they decided to go with 1 mill, but do it by council decision, we would make that decision tonight in the budget resolution.
If your millage, if your motion fails, someone can make another motion.
Yeah.
It's not the only, I mean, I don't know what's on people's minds, but someone can make a different motion.
But your point is valid that
You talked about going 8.
if your motion fails on another motion, it doesn't put it on the ballot, it doesn't pass. We're past the ballot.
Right.
Yes. That's accurate.
But if you don't do it tonight,
But
the next tax bill is going to be, what,
you know, and this isn't to be
2025, right?
taken as like
So
some
you
sort
don't
of
have to do it
ultimatum or anything like that,
but
but
that's going to
I've
be
like
the repercussion of it.
put in a lot of time on this whole thing over the last 3 or 4 months, and I'm out of energy for it. You know, if somebody else wants to come up with another proposal or whatever, that's fine. It's not going to be me.
Well, and
I'm just tapped out.
I feel like your motion is getting us closer to where we need to be. I mean, like I said, if there's things in the motion that people agree with or don't agree with, we can make another motion. I am just really, really concerned, and I know you've put in a lot of time, so have I, but I don't want to be sitting here in December after the motion, or after the ballot fails, with brand-new council members who were not involved with any of this discussion, potentially, having to face the people that just voted for them and say, we're doing it anyway. Thanks.
Well, we're not 100% sure it's not going to fail.
That's right.
Right, but it might, because I
It
think
might. Well,
I think it could go either
it
way.
could.
Whether there's an SAD or not, and whether, however people take that or don't take that, I mean, it could go, there is a very good chance this is gonna fail, one way or the other. And it doesn't matter even if we get all of the private road people on board. Not everybody votes.
Right.
Not everybody is gonna vote like you think they're gonna vote. There could be private road that vote for public way, public people who vote for private way. Like, you can't predict what people are gonna do when they get into the ballot box.
I believe that 1 mil is a very reasonable amount to put on the ballot and have a sentiment move in favor of it. And the extension to 10 years adds some more money to the pot. And the special assessment, I think, is so mild at the $500 level, like you said, that this is probably going to be our best bet.
Right, but I think there's those that are gonna say, I would vote for 1 mil. Like you said, if it was just 1 mil, I would think, no big deal. But when you start telling people you're gonna vote for 1 mil, and some of you are also gonna pay $500 a year, I think you're gonna turn some people off.
And you do realize 1 mil is only, is 200,000.
Right.
And over 10 years, that's 2 million. That doesn't even cover the cost of,
Right, we're not gonna get to where
we're not going to get to where we need to be. No, not even close.
But we have to do something.
I would suggest you call the question.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm going to find out.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. We've had discussion. I'm gonna call for a roll call vote.
Yes, definitely.
Sure. Blackburn.
No.
You keeping track?
Yep.
Hageman.
Nay.
Hedge.
Yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Yes.
Jones. Craybill.
No.
The 3-3 tie does not pass. Motion fails.
I'd like to make another motion. I would make a motion that we increase the millage rate by 1 mil for 10 years, with a proposal that it be for 10 years unless needed for lesser amount of time, that this council would add to the current year budget. We would begin to create a framework that would address the roads by starting with repair of the roads as proposed in Proposal 5 that are north of 13 Mile, dealing with the roads that have we'll call it the more maintenance approach, that we would create one SAD for that area that would pay $500 per year for 10 years. And the future council would assess that after a few years and determine the best way to use the funds to fix Bristol Lane.
And then what happens to south of Telegraph Road?
I think someone's got to have a second before we discuss it.
Oh,
I'll second that motion.
Discussion.
I think my proposal was meant to say that would be you know, we deal with the Bingham Lane, Bingham Road first, 25, in 2025, 2026, and then the council at that time assesses, are we continuing with the 1 mil? Do we need to raise more? And find a way to address Bristol and the courts at that point.
But then you're separating north and south because you're doing the 500 for 10 years.
Only related to the north, yeah.
But then the south is, okay, so then the
To be
SAG
dealt with
would
later.
be dealt with later.
Councilman, can I ask a clarification? So we would actually build that additional 1 mil into the budget that we're going to adopt tonight?
Correct.
Okay, which would help us get the bills out quick. Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
I guess as part of that, I sort of meant to say that to get the engineers started on a project for 25, whether it's the Bingham Lane or the Bingham Road project that was laid out in.
So instead of
Proposal
adopting the
5.
9 mils, we would adopt 10 mils?
10 mils.
I just want to make sure. Okay.
I think I've made my arguments on the points, I think.
And there would be no ballot question. This would be done. Okay.
And I think that very well, you get to 2027, we would have used most of our savings, and we would have collected 2 more years of these taxes. We'd be essentially at zero on a road savings. And the council at that point is going to need to figure out what to do with Bristol Lane. I think, from what I've heard from everyone, I don't think this council is willing to commit the village to doing an $8 or $9 million project. So what I think I've tried to propose is a $3 million project, $3-ish million project that we can get done in the next couple of years. And for a future council 2 or 3 years down the road to figure out what to do with the rest.
Okay.
I just have one quick question on that. So you're saying take basically all the savings and use it on that project?
Use it on the first 2.
Right. And then are we then adding any savings to the Bristol Lane, or Bristol Lane will start at 0?
I think the millage will continue to build at 1 mil at 215,000 a year or something. So, in the next couple of years, you would have, I guess in 5 years, you'd have another $1 million.
That then could be put toward Bristol?
Yeah. But
as a starting point?
Or you could utilize an SAD at that point if that's what everybody decides to do.
Right.
I think I hear your point. Maybe, I don't know. I think it's more about the speed of getting the treatments on those roads that have the best chance of keeping them at a higher rating for a longer period of time. I don't know. I think that's a proposal that's somewhat in the middle of what everyone wants. But the challenge is, because I think, $8 or $9 million for this village means more than 2 mils at least, more than 2 mils. Maybe even more than 3. And I think that's a big pill to swallow.
And I'm comfortable with everything you've said. The only thing I was concerned with is the $2.8 million or whatever. It's sort of like everybody's put into that pot. So the only other option would be to split that between the 2 projects and hold off half of it for the Bristol Lane. But if you're saying we're going to be generating...
You could do that too, but the only way to achieve that would just be to delay one of the 2 first projects to have that same
Which I
impact.
would not agree to delay.
Yeah.
I agree with you that we need to get going.
Or when you get to the 3rd year and you determine that we would have the engineers go back and look at it and say, we're not going to have $4 million. We're going to have somewhere between 1 and 2. What does it look like? And have them because I think there's a little difference from like, I don't want to ignore their opinion and just tell them what to do, but I do think it would be better to know what could we get if we put in $1.5 million. We heard it very clear last Wednesday, it will not be what they think is best to do, but we don't have $9 million, and I don't think there's, at least at the council, I don't hear any interest in raising the millage above the Headley number. We're getting so close to Headley that we could have a challenge with our public service. So that leaves us with $5-ish million for the next 10 years to see what we can do.
It also buys us time to raise money in other ways. Like one of the other road advisory committee members, Mason, talked about philanthropy. And maybe there are some opportunities. Maybe Bristol Lane gets renamed.
So your goal is $1 million for 10 years?
Well, I guess it's $1 million to be honest. I mean,
It's $1 million starting
my,
now.
My
Right.
structure is 10 years, but it's really just 1 year.
It's really just 1 year, right?
Yeah. Because what I was trying to do is create a framework that this council would kind of agree on, a framework, because and future councils may evolve that framework.
That's right.
But
They may increase it,
We may have to increase it.
or they may take it away and say don't do any. Once we get one road done, they may not want to do the. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think this. My proposal is done with the view that it's urgent to get going on.
Let's get moving
Save as
and
much
do
as
it
we
now.
can, as fast as we can.
I agree that it's imperative to get going and save what's there on what can be saved.
Yeah.
Do we have a lot of empty lots or homes being built that will increase the tax base that?
We don't have many empty lots left, no.
Do we have?
There are homes under construction
Under
right now that will
construction.
come up, and I'm sure that some houses will be bought and demoed, and new houses will be built on them.
Right, so we're not necessarily, I mean, we are using up our savings, but possibly with the turnover of homes or new homes.
It's nothing that, I wouldn't bank on it as a windfall, but I
But
think
it's an increase, it's
it would-
not most likely a decrease, but it would be an
I
increase.
think in the numbers, we assumed an increase in taxes, an increase in collections on that. Let's say it was $215,000 for $1 million. The road committee assumed 2.5%. That's going to go up 2.5% every year.
Okay.
If we get 2 new homes in the village every year, maybe it's going to go up 3% instead of 2. It's not going to
Right.
go up 10%.
Right.
Like there's not that much. Short of half the property is turning over.
Right, but that might have some
Right.
But it's not big. These aren't big
Right.
numbers. They're rounding.
Well, even when a home sells, there's still, like you were saying, it's reassessed and
That's
you get
true.
a little bump. So that, I go back to my public safety and service, whatever, and the police, that we want to keep them in mind too. so.
We're looking to sell 3 on Bingham, on Outland Trail as we speak. There are 3 homes that are getting ready for flipping.
Aaron, do you have this motion written down?
I don't.
It's recorded. It's on
Yeah,
video.
well, we'll have to watch it.
Yeah.
So, to be clear, you said that this would create one SAD? Are you sort of combining one and the 2 SADs that are in?
2 and 3 would become
Great.
one SAD.
So you're creating one SAD out of I see that, okay. And that's 10 years, correct?
Yeah, I almost regret doing that now, and maybe it was better to keep it to the framework of 5. If I could amend my, I would amend my motion to base the SADs on proposal 5. Have separate 2 and 3, because I understand, if you're not going to do those projects at the same time, then they should be separated.
I don't understand what you're saying.
I think there's unless we're going to do the Bingham Road project and the Bingham Lane project in the same year, I think it will create an issue with developing the SAD. You'd be better off having SAD 3 and SAD 2 separate, so you could do those projects at 2 different times.
Then you end up having 3 SADs.
Then you'd be back to 3 SADs, but
The one will be way off
Way off,
into the
yeah.
future, yeah. These might be a year, 2 years apart at most, maybe.
So there's an amendment to the motion, so you need a second to the amendment.
It's not
I second the amendment.
Thank you.
any of that.
Amended. I second the motion as amended.
Thanks, thank you.
From an old stage and
You're right.
with all, and really the teeth, the really only thing in the amendment that has any teeth is
The 1 mil in this budget.
Right,
which you'll get another crack at here in a few minutes.
So, SAD 2 includes Bingham Lane, Old Orchard Trail, Hickory Hollow, Shagwood, and From Court.
Correct.
From Court is not necessarily geographically connected
No, it wouldn't include from.
to the other ones.
But I think what Aaron is saying is, he's just setting up the framework. It can be tweaked.
Okay.
I almost want to,
I mean, it could be dropped. It would seem like that would be dropped out of there altogether.
yeah.
Well, then how do we,
That's not contiguous.
how do we fix, well, Front Lane is not in that bad a shape, but, I mean, is it then included in redoing the roads at all? If it's not in the special assessment district, whichever one you put it in?
So 4.
We put it in.
No, I know we did, I'm trying to figure out what Aaron's.
I guess I thought I took the SADs as they were proposed in 5. I don't think.
That's the way I took it.
From could be in.
I
But I
drove
think
down
what-
Front, and it's in pretty good shape.
Right.
Except for the end, but I'm still trying to get, so you're gonna have the
That-
SADs
that
that are
can't be-
in proposal 5.
Yeah, but I think what I heard though, From Court's not geographically connected with.
It's not
these other
contiguous.
ones, and
Yes.
Right, so from
So you could take from out.
would need to be taken out, which would be okay because it's not in that, it's got some years left,
Yeah,
so.
and it's directly across the road from Bristol Lane, so when that is addressed, then From, in whatever condition it is, could be addressed as
I
part of
don't
that
know.
SAD.
I don't know if that's
Let me
contiguous
rescind the motion. Is that,
Yep.
I can do that.
Wait.
Just real quick, From is one of the ones that we were planning on sealing, so that it goes into the ones that you want to get cut right away before it gets too bad, where we can't seal it anymore. You
Yeah,
gotta.
but it was,
overlay.
but it couldn't, it would have to be its own SAD,
Again, if it's a fixed cost, doesn't matter.
because it's not continuous with any, it just was grouped with those because of the,
Yeah, you can't, they need to be
It has
contiguous.
to be contiguous, so then you're saying from, if we wait,
Well, you're not gonna get a contractor to come and just seal From. It's a specialty type of work that you would want to combine with Bingham Lane and Old Orchard Trail, because those are the 3 roads. Now that we're kind of taking Brooks Lane out of it, I believe that was kind of one of the things that came out of this, we're just gonna take it out of it completely. So the 3 roads now that are to be Cape sealed essentially are Bingham Lane from Old Orchard Trail, which based on proposal gives you about an $850,000 project, which isn't enough for that specialty contractor to come up and actually do that work.
That's
You
right.
won't do it for just $175,000.
You said there's only so many in
Correct.
this
In the-
area.
in the Midwest.
In the Midwest, so
Yeah.
they're not gonna come for one street.
Correct.
What you could do is you could leave your motion the way it is, and with respect to the SADs, you talked about the framework, and you want it to be as close to proposal 5 that's reasonable and accomplishable, maybe something like that, which would give you some wiggle room if a road had to be taken out.
yeah, yes.
So it's not rescinded.
No.
Okay.
I would leave it as is with the wording that Dirk proposed, that we would keep it as close to the framework in 5 as possible, but subject to further discussion.
Thank that gives you some room.
Yeah, further discussion changes as
So are we-
required from a legal perspective.
So we're still at one SAD then?
No, we would be at
Three.
we'd be at three.
Three.
More or less following the
Okay.
proposal 5. But that would need a second.
Or would From be its own?
But the sequence of them.
You don't have to make that decision tonight.
All right, okay.
If later on the funds dictate that From can be done, you can do it. If not, you can back it out. That's why he just wants to be within the framework of what Proposal 5 was,
Right.
but giving yourself some wiggle room that if you need to back one road out or.
So even though it's a motion, we're okay
Yeah.
to be a little bit general?
Yes.
Okay.
Really, the key component is to get the 1 mil adopted by council tonight, included in this year's budget, and to give the direction that we're going to try to do Proposal 5 to the extent that we can. I think, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth.
You absolutely
Okay.
summarize.
Do you have this?
You do?
Yes, he says
Good.
he does. You want to say something?
Think after
Could we just create one special district? If we're gonna go the route that I think is the wrong way, I just want to throw that out. Why not just have everybody that lives on public roads is one SAD?
You
Has to be
You can't.
It
continuous.
has to be contiguous.
And you,
Rules.
yeah, they are, and you can't have a village-wide SAD for roads.
It's not village-wide, it's only 49% of our residents.
But yeah, they need to geographically.
That's why From needs to be out. It's not attached to the other one.
You could make it a separate SAD.
Correct.
That's what I said, we could have had an SAD for just From, maybe.
And
But we
you-
can decide
It's
that
just more
later.
work for Bill.
You can
Yeah.
decide that later.
4 SADs, sorry, Bill, which gets me to, this might cost us an extra person down the road. Maybe not. I'm not saying you couldn't handle it. I just don't know the amount of work involved with having 4 SADs. So we may have to outsource some of this. Okay, we've got the motion? You're good with it, Aaron? You're good with it?
Yeah, I mean, we could listen to the tape later, but we know what the
Do you have
concept is.
anything? Is this sounding okay? I know it's
Again,
whatever we want.
Whatever we want.
But I still want your opinion.
No,
That's
we're
what I
doing,
want.
again, we're doing a program very similar to this in Beverly Hills. We're doing Cape Sealing and just like mill and fill type stuff. So we
So we want to get this done.
can get it.
then.
It's doable.
Okay.
Yes, it's doable.
We have a motion.
Could we just say it, could you, somebody read it again?
If you'd like me to.
I can't read it again.
Even if,
No, Nip said he had it.
but even if it's not smooth, like it's
Just sort of-
one mil increase
In this budget,
today over.
and in the future, try to follow Proposal 5 as closely as is reasonably possible and make sense at the time, which would likely include 3 SEDs, but there'll be some wiggle room about maybe a street may be taken out or things. I think that's the
Was there a
general.
time frame?
It was 10 years.
10
and I-
years?
But really,
Well, but-
you can say whatever you want, but really, it's going to be each year's budget.
Yeah.
It's how you're
Right.
going to do it, so you don't.
And I guess I agree with, I think that is the motion with the idea of starting with the idea of starting north of 13.
Yes.
That's the motion.
Got that?
My other would be
1 mil
1 mil.
in the current budget, following 5 as close as possible, with the start of the road work to start north of 13
mile.
And includes starting an SAD at $500.
Yes, yeah. Again, I'll encapsulate what's proposed in 5. To the extent legally, we can make it work legally.
But yes, that includes a $500 SAD.
So we're not going to ballot.
Well, that's the proposed, that's what, the motion is, hasn't been voted on yet.
There's 4 votes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have the motion.
A second.
Did I hear a second?
I have a second.
Any discussion? Roll call,
Hedge,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Jones,
No.
Craybill,
Yes.
Blackburn,
please. Yes.
Hageman.
Nay.
6 to 4. passes. 4-2. Yep, 4-2, I mean. Yeah. Okay, it passes with 4-2. Next item.
Okay.
I think you allowed
Thank you
Thank you, Eric.
all for that very thoughtful discussion.
Brad, could you stay a little longer? Just kidding. Just kidding.
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Clock is ticking. Does anybody need a break? No? All right, we're gonna get through this. We are moving to the 24-25 budget. Bill?
Thank you, President Blackburn. Agenda item number 7, 24-25 budget. There is 5 resolutions and 1 motion that makes up this agenda item. The first one, which was very well traveled and talked about, is the adoption of the budget. The budget that's in your packet is based upon 9 mills. However, in my memo to everyone on council, I knew that we were going to consider 9 and/or 10 mills. And just to be clear, is for this budget year, as soon as you make a decision of which one it's going to be, I have to put in tomorrow morning into Oakland County system the mill rate so that we can have the rates checked and get the tax bills prepared to send out. So the budget that's in there now is at 9 mills. 10 mills adds another $217,000. Give you the exact $217,324 more, because that's what 1 mill will generate approximately, because not everyone pays their taxes and there's adjustments that can happen throughout the years. But that's what the resolution is to have you first approve, and I did review this with Dirk, that says that we don't have to give you an actual budget at 10 mills. Council has the ability to go ahead and just verbally approve 10 mills for this current budget year, which is 24-25.
Right. The public's put on notice, so.
Correct. The public has been on notice, so we've done the truth and taxation portion under the public notice that we did last public hearing.
I would propose adopting the budget at 10 mills with the additional mill being assigned to road projects.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
Are we supposed to do them separately? Are we
Yes.
supposed to do?
Yeah, you've got to do them separately, I'm sorry.
Oh, the millage rate is second.
Is second, but you can address, you can address.
The motion was appropriate as made.
Yes.
Roll call vote.
Which one are we doing?
Oh, sorry, they were doing
A, you're doing A.
7A.
A.
We're doing A, so we're not adopting the millage rate in this, we're just adopting the budget.
But you're adopting the budget at 10 mills.
And then you will,
We'll set the millage rate again after this.
Oh, you do it again?
Yeah.
Okay.
I tried to, that's why I pointed out where
Yes.
the other mill went,
Yeah.
because that needs to be updated in the budget.
Yeah, no, that was it.
We had a first and a second.
Yep.
And we had all the discussion that we need. This is a resolution. Okay. Okay. Blackburn,
Aye.
Hedge,
Aye.
Hageman,
Aye.
Howard,
Aye.
Jones,
Aye.
Craybill, Mashigian. That passes 6-0.
Okay.
item number B on under item number 7, adoption of the fiscal year 2024-2025 millage rate. Again, you'll have in your packet the proposed resolution, and you just have to approve it at the mill rate that we've just discussed for the adoption of the budget, which is 10 mills.
10 mills.
Do I hear a motion?
Sorry. It's a resolution. We need someone to offer the resolution.
And it would be the 10 mills with the 1 mill being assigned.
So move.
Who made the motion?
I did.
Okay.
We need a second?
I second the motion for 10 mills.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Craybill.
Aye.
Jones.
No.
Howard.
Aye.
Hedge.
Yes.
Hageman.
Aye.
Blackburn.
Aye.
Mashigian. It passes 5-1.
Thank you. Next item is item C, and it's a resolution that's in your packet to adopt the police SAD for the fiscal year 2024-2025. In your packet's not only the resolution, but there's also the roll by parcel number of what each parcel number will be assessed under this SAD. And again, I just want to also add, we did have the public hearing, and it's all been vetted out through that public hearing that we had last session.
Okay, would somebody like to offer the resolution to adopt the police SAD for fiscal year 24-25?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Did you get that?
Roll call.
Jones.
Aye, or yes.
Howard.
Yes.
Craybill.
Yes.
Hedge.
Yes.
Hageman.
Aye.
Blackburn.
Yes.
Mashigian. It passes 6-0. Thank you. But it is adopted 6-0.
Thank you. Next item, D, adopt a woodland pump SAD for fiscal year 2024-2025. Again, in your packet is the proposed resolution. There's also in it details out for the 11 parcels, the amount of the SAD that will be assessed against each parcel number.
Do I hear a resolution to adopt the woodland pump SAD for fiscal year 24-25?
I move that the resolution for Woodland be adopted.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Blackburn.
Aye.
Hageman.
Aye.
What?
Aye.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hedge.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Craybill.
Aye.
Mashigian. All right, it is
Allergy
approved.
season, yes.
Thank you. Last item, or not last item, but item number E, last of the resolutions. It's to certify the delinquent water and sewer accounts for the 2024 tax roll so that they can be placed on. In your packet is the proposed resolution that details out the parcel numbers, both that have delinquent water and/or delinquent sewer, and then their total combined, for the amount of $5,437.86 total.
Do I hear a resolution to certify delinquent water and sewer accounts to the 2024 tax roll?
I would make that resolution as described in our packet.
Second? I'm sorry, do I hear a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Craybill.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Howard.
Aye.
Hedge.
Aye.
Hageman.
Aye.
Blackburn.
Aye.
Mashigian. That resolution passes, or is adopted. Thank you.
Last item under section 7 is item number F. This is a motion, not a resolution. It's to approve the funding for the 3 community services that the village has supported over a number of years, which is next, the Birmingham Youth Association and the Birmingham Bloomfield Coalition. In your packet was information, websites that you could look at if you want more information on them, and it details out in your proposal, or in the motion, the amount of each that would be as follows. Next is $4,290. Birmingham Youth Assistance, $1,200, and the Birmingham Bloomfield Community Coalition at $1,000. All of those have been the same last year and the year prior, so it's been a fixed amount, and it hasn't changed for at least the last 3 or 4 years that when I went back and looked at that. And again, this is a motion.
Do I hear a motion to approve funding for next, BYA and BBCC?
I make a motion to approve funding for the 3 community organizations listed.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Madam President?
Yes.
I regret to say this, but don't we have to go back and
We do.
approve this?
We do.
contract?
We do.
We do.
We do.
I have it
Okay,
right
Make
here.
sure you did.
I got it.
We were
Thank
just
you.
talking about the
Thank
same
you.
thing.
Yep, I got it.
I can continue if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I thought we'd go through and then
Got it.
go back.
Okay.
Okay. I'll just proceed and stop me whenever you want. So now that everything has been approved, going back to B and C, the manager's contract and the treasurer's contract, the amount that was approved in the budget was a 4% increase. The salary amounts are still valid that are in the budget that was in front of you, but if you want to know the exact dollar amounts, I can break them out for you right now. Why don't I just go ahead and do that? The contract for the balance, just so that's on the record.
I don't think you need to.
Okay.
No,
I've reviewed them in the budget.
As long as you've said, as long as you indicate it's 4% increase.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's in the budget, we're good.
Okay, I just want to make sure that there's full transparency.
Yep.
I would move to adopt the village manager's contract with the amount as described in the budget.
I second that.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
I'd move to approve.
Thank you.
Village treasurer's contract with the amounts as set forth in the budget.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, treasurer's report.
Thank you, President Blackburn. Agenda item number 8, Treasurer's Report. The first one, there's 3 items within the Treasurer's Report this month. The first is A, which is budget amendment for fiscal year 2023 and 2024. It's a resolution that is in your packet, same as the resolution last year. When we get to a certain point within the budget to close it, we have to adjust, and in this fiscal year, there's 3 adjustments that are outlined within the resolution. The general fund will be increased by amount of $3,600 to Department 215. The Treasurer's Department, which is Department 253, an increase of $2,500. And under the General Government Department, Department number 261, there will be an increase of $30,000. That $30,000, just for everyone's recall, is the amount that we transferred over and made an additional contribution to the MERS retirement fund so that we can try to catch up and be closer to full 100% contribution towards it. The clerk's department is increases in insurance, and the same holds true for the treasurer's department. Was an increase that we get in December timeframe from our insurance providers. That's when they increase their rates. So the total amount of the increase under this resolution for budget amendment is $36,100 even.
Sorry, Bill, can you tell me where this is in the packet? Like,
It's
I'm
like the one.
confused.
It's in, actually, it is, it's, yeah.
Go to the very end and then go in
Go up
8.
8.
Says Village of Bingham Farms Resolution and Budget Amendment on it.
Yeah. You have a page number on that?
I don't.
It's 2 right before his budget.
It's toward the
I
end.
see it.
It's 8.
Thank you. Sorry, I thought I was going to see it in the tabular format.
Yeah.
I see it.
No worries.
Okay, do I hear a resolution for the budget amendments for fiscal year 2023, 2024?
I motion that we approve the budget amendments for 2023-24 as stated.
Second.
Resolve. Any discussion? Roll call.
Roll call. Hageman.
Aye.
Hedge.
Aye.
Howard.
Aye.
Craybill.
Aye.
Jones.
Aye.
Blackburn.
Aye.
Mashigian. That is accepted. Thank you.
Okay, item number B, which is a motion. It's to approve the June 2024 bills. But check disbursement is also in the treasurer's report, but the check disbursement is for the dates May 18th, 2024 through June 21st, 2024. The amount that was dispersed under the total general fund was $182,066.73. And the check disbursements for the same dates, May 18th, 2024 through June 21st, 2024, for the gas and weight account was $330 even, for a total of $182,396.73 for those two accounts.
I move that we accept the check disbursements as described for May of 18th through June 21st, 2024.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes.
Okay, the last item, item number C, accept the financial statements for May of 2024. Again, this is a motion in your packet, as is every month. Detail out the financial statements, and I'm going to start with the profit and loss budget, actual July through May of 2024. We are now 92% of the fiscal year completed. And as you will see, that's in there. We're tracking actually better than what we were same time last year. Just to give you a sense, last year we were at 90.3% of the full year budget at that point in time, and we are now tracking. We are now at 85.85% of the budget under the general portion. And again, it's fiscal years is 92%. We've got 1 month left. I will be more than happy to answer any questions as it relates to the profit and loss statement that you may have before moving on to the investment section. Any questions? Okay. Moving on to the investments for May 2024. That's also in your packet, broken out between the general fund and the road fund. Everything is detailed that's out there, all the dates of maturity. There are some things that have moved in and moved out. The one thing that I will call to everyone's attention under the general fund, as I did last month, is since we're coming near to the end of this fiscal year, I do take funds out of the lowest interest-bearing account that we have investment, which is the Oakland County pool. And that was reduced from where it was last year because we pull the money out to put in the general fund in order to make the daily obligations and payments that you guys just approved. Other than that, you'll also see in the road funds, that's increased a little bit, obviously, because of the interest that we've gained in those 4 investments under the road funds. If there's any questions that I can answer regarding the investments, I'd be more than happy to.
Is there a motion to accept financial statements for May 2024?
I will so move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We are going to go for trustee comments. Trustee Bench?
Just one comment. I do look forward to us having at a very near future meeting, one of the members of the Road Advisory Committee, Mason, but to talk about his ideas about how to generate additional revenue through philanthropic endeavors. So I hope that can happen.
Trustee Hager?
I'm good.
Trustee Purple?
That's what I look at.
No? Okay. I just wanted to address that. Ken and I have spoken about that multiple times. It's going to have, it would have to be after we had this discussion. This was priority, so we're looking at potentially, in my mind, probably like August, September. Ken.
Yeah, I'll call this week and figure something
Ken
out.
will be in contact with him to get that,
Right.
but we've talked about it multiple times, but it's just too heavy of a lift with all of this, everything else that needs to be discussed and prepared. But yes, we will. I'm looking forward to hearing from him myself. Other than that, I have no comments except to say thank you to everybody for all of your work. Trustee Jones has put an exorbitant amount of work in, Trustee Hickman, thank you to Dirk, our HIRC, our staff, everybody. I think we did move the ball forward tonight, and for that, we can be proud. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to say a
Oh.
couple things.
I'm sorry.
Just real quickly, guys, thank you for the approving the contract. I appreciate the vote of confidence, if that's what I can interpret it as such. And I realize that this is heavy lifting. You guys had a real lively discussion, and you came to a consensus, even if some of you didn't vote in favor of that. It's important, and you're not always on the right side of a motion in your mind. Right? You're not always in favor of something, that even if it passes. Again, I appreciate the comments, the conversation, all the work that's been done. This has occupied a major part of my professional life for quite a long time, and I agree also that you did move the ball forward. So, I mean, I just wanted to comment on that. Thank you much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I need a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second?
It took so long.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is adjourned.